Chapter 604, Battle of the Martial Saints. Boom! A few days later, Li Lingtian and the others left the cave and headed into the distance. Along the way, they killed countless experts, but they did not encounter any martial arts saint super experts. On this day, the group of people came to a huge island and stopped. This island had a radius of 10,000 miles. Even with Li Lingtian's divine consciousness, he could not monitor it. As soon as they arrived on the island, they heard a deafening explosion. Li Lingtian did not need to think to know that Tang Qingyue and the others knew that the explosion was a battle between powerhouses. Moreover, it was a battle between martial saints. More than a month had passed, and they had not seen any martial saints. To actually have a battle in this place, it was indeed not simple. What a coincidence! Li Lingtian had Tang Qingyue and the others restrain their qi as he extended his divine consciousness into the distance. Immediately, he saw the battle in his divine sense. When he saw the battle between the martial saints, his expression changed several times. It was the middle-aged man in red who came in the other day. He was at the peak of the third sky of the martial saint realm. The other two were also at the second sky of the martial saint realm. Although the difference between the third heaven and the second heaven was too great, it was not easy for two second heaven martial saints to kill a third heaven when they joined forces. Even if there was a difference of 1 or 2 realms between martial saints, it was basically impossible to kill the other party unless they had heaven-defying scraps and divine powers, or they joined forces. This was because even if a martial saint expert could not defeat him, he could still use teleportation to escape. A movement technique like teleportation was an innate divine ability of a super expert. Every time he teleported, he would travel dozens of miles, and it would be very difficult to track him. The battle between the 3 martial saints had not lasted for a short while. It seemed like they were fighting for some treasure. Otherwise, the martial saints would not have risked their lives like this. Not far away from the 3 martial saints, there were hundreds of martial emperor powerhouses. There were even martial venerables and martial emperors. How could Li Lingtian not be surprised by this situation? Something that even a martial emperor, a martial venerable, and a martial emperor would take a risk on must not be simple. One had to know that when martial saints fought for treasures, powerhouses below martial supreme would usually run far away to avoid being caught in the fish pond. Fighting with martial saints for treasures was undoubtedly snatching food from the tiger's mouth. Now that these martial artists dared to snatch food from the tiger's mouth, it must be a treasure worth their lives. Ling Tian, what's the situation up ahead? Tang Qingyue asked curiously when she saw the change in Li Lingtian's expression. The other girls looked at Li Lingtian with the same curious expression. Longde and the other 3 could only remain numb to the situation. Although their cultivation was much higher than Li Lingtian's, their divine perception was inferior to Li Lingtian's. Naturally, they were unable to detect the situation ahead. 3 martial saints are fighting, and there are hundreds of ants. Li Lingtian said calmly as he began to calculate in his heart. This was because in a battle between martial saints, no matter who obtained the treasure, they would be injured. They did not dare to move forward rashly, lest they become Orioles. He definitely did not like being an Oriole. He wanted to be the strongest hunter. 3 martial saints. Even if we attack, it will be difficult to kill them. It will be even more troublesome if we are desperate. Although the other low-level martial artists can't threaten us, it's not good to make a mistake at the critical moment. Huang Fuyuyan spoke in a serious tone. She knew what Li Lingtian was thinking, so she reminded him in time to prevent him from having trouble reminding him once his thoughts were formed. Ming Luo, keep an eye on them. Don't alert them. Just follow them. Li Lingtian pondered for a moment before nodding in agreement. Finally, he spoke to Martial Saint Ming Luo behind him. Martial Saint Ming Luo's cultivation level was slightly lower than Heavenly Demon King's, but he was the best in terms of wisdom and experience. In a real battle, even the Heavenly Demon King might not be Martial Saint Ming Luo's match. This was a strategy and calculation. He was most at ease with Martial Saint Ming Luo because he was a smart person. As for Martial Saint Yinhao, his cultivation level was not comparable to the Heavenly Monster King or Martial Saint Ming Luo. He was definitely not as suitable as Martial Saint Ming Luo if he went out alone. This subordinate understands. Martial Saint Ming Luo nodded and disappeared. Her cultivation was hidden to the Martial Emperor realm. Li Lingtian did not make a move now because he was worried that there would be a powerhouse hiding somewhere. As long as he followed them quietly, it would be the best way to catch the big fish. Even if they had a super treasure, if they joined forces to launch a sneak attack, there would definitely not be many people who could survive. As for those martial emperors, and martial supremacies, he could kill them all with a single almighty superpower. With his current cultivation, the myriad returning swords could destroy all the martial emperors. After Martial Saint Ming Luo left, Li Lingtian and the others found a more secluded place to hide. This way, he wouldn't attract any attention within the range of all the experts' divine senses. Old Ghost Xianin, don't be so ruthless. Even if you're at the third heaven, it's impossible for you to kill the two of us. Besides, we discovered this treasure first. It has nothing to do with you. Why do you have to be such an evil person? If you let go immediately, we can pretend that nothing happened. Donghua Tian said loudly. The attacks in his hands continuously bombarded the middle-aged man in red. So this middle-aged man in red was called Dazzling Sound. His other companion was also his blood brother, Donghua Yun. The two of them had the same cultivation base, and their minds were connected. During the battle, they knew what the other was thinking. When the two brothers joined forces, even Xianin, who was at the third sky of the Martial Saint realm, could not defeat them. The two of them had also seen the other Martial Emperor powerhouses obtain the treasure and snatched it away. They did not expect Dazzling Sound to be the Oriole. The three of them fought endlessly. Some Martial Emperors were also watching from the side and were furious. Haha, Sir Donghua, I don't have the intention to kill you all. However, I still have a few ways to defeat you. Hand over the Tiandu Kalin. You're not suitable to have it. Dazzling Sound laughed, but his face was cold and his eyes were filled with excitement. He did not expect to find an ancient treasure, the Tiandu Kalin, in the bottomless abyss. Although the Tiandu Kalin was a treasure for girls, it was a divine artifact. Even in the Black Continent, there were only a few divine artifacts. Only the kingdoms had low-grade divine artifacts. As long as he had a divine artifact, he would be able to dominate the world and increase his strength by a large margin. In front of an expert of the same level, using a divine artifact would definitely kill the opponent. It wasn't easy for him to see the heavenly capital Kalin, so he naturally wouldn't give up just like that. There's no use for you to take it. Besides, this Tiandu Kalin was discovered by us brothers. Donghua Yun had a natural expression on his face. He had completely forgotten that they had also snatched it from the hands of other martial sovereigns. Boom! As the three of them spoke, they did not have the slightest intention of stopping. On the contrary, their attacks became even more intense. For a moment, countless experts kept dodging to avoid being caught in the fish pond. In that case, I won't show mercy. Limitless Dark Mysterious Seal, King of Hell kowtow 3 times. Dazzling Sound knew that the other party wouldn't hand over Tiandu Kalin so easily, so he didn't continue to pester them because he knew that there were other experts in this place. If this continued, his primeval essence would be exhausted. Not only would he not be able to obtain Tiandu Kalin, but he might even be killed. After saying that, he circulated the true essence in his entire body to the extreme. Suddenly, a stream of profound yin qi soared into the sky. All the experts were shocked. They didn't expect that this Xianin was actually a meditation cultivator. In the past, he had always hidden his cultivation attributes. Now that he had unleashed such a shocking attack, he was constantly dodging. However, in front of Xianin, who was at the peak of the third sky of the Martial Saint realm, he could not resist at all. Since Dazzling Sound had used such an attack and exposed his identity, he naturally wouldn't let anyone leave this place. Instantly, the profound yin qi in the sky swept across. The Donghua brothers never expected that Dazzling Sound was a meditation cultivator, Nor did they expect the profound Yin Qi to be so terrifying. For a moment, they were all extremely shocked and their expressions were solemn. While the two of them were still in shock, Dazzling Sound had already used the attack of the Elysium race's mighty figure. He had also used two destructive attacks at the same time. He wanted to kill the two brothers in one go. There was a palm print with destructive profound Yin Qi and 3 huge Yama clones. The 4 destructive energies blasted towards the Dongwa brothers. The destructive energies tore the sky apart, and their auras were domineering and ruthless. Countless experts felt the aura of death. The Underworld King's 3 Kowtow was the most mysterious attack of the Underworld. Without this attack, the world would have turned into hell. It brought a negative emotion to the martial artists. Now, all the martial artists did not have the slightest sense of resistance. Water and wood grow together, the world is spinning. When Dongwa Yun and Dongwa Tian saw the destructive attack, they were terrified. They also understood that Xian Yin hadn't used his full strength at the beginning. They also understood that the third sky of the martial saint realm wasn't something that the second sky could compare to. The two of them looked at each other and unleashed their respective attributes to the extreme. Suddenly, a gloomy aura appeared between heaven and earth, and the two of them disappeared. Boom! With an earth-shattering explosion, Dazzling Sound's 4 destructive attacks smashed down ruthlessly, bombarding the Dongwa brothers without any suspense. The 2 brothers were beaten up and disappeared from the island. However, when Dazzling Sound's attack landed on the Dongwa brothers, his expression changed drastically. This was because a destructive power that carried the aura of death had arrived above his head. It was already too late for him to dodge. Pfft! The destructive attack hit his head, and he felt like he was struck by lightning. He spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. Ah, ah, ah. In an instant, countless martial monarchs and martial honors were killed, and there were not many martial emperor powerhouses left. Even a martial saint expert would not be able to resist the 3 Kowtows of Hades, let alone an expert below a martial supreme. The island was temporarily quiet. There were only a dozen or so of the hundreds of martial artists. These martial emperors were all existences at the 8th or 9th heaven. There was also Dazzling Sound on the ground and the expert who attacked Dazzling Sound in the air. Everyone looked curiously at the expert in the sky. They wondered who had attacked Dazzling Sound at the most critical moment. However, when they saw the experts in the sky, they were all shocked. Chapter 605, Profound Sky Arrow, 1. The expert that appeared in the air was none other than Dongwa Yun, one of the Dongwa brothers who had been attacked. All the experts were shocked. The Dongwa brothers were clearly being attacked, but they did not expect that they would actually appear on Dazzling Sound. They did not know how Dongwa Yun did it. Even if he had a clone technique, it was impossible for him to be so fast. At this moment, Dongwa Yun's face revealed a pained expression. His eyes were cold as he looked at Xian Yin, who was on the ground, because his brother of hundreds of years had fallen. The 2 brothers joined hands and executed the heaven and earth rotation, transferring all their cultivation to Dongwa Yun. When the 2 of them cultivated this move, they knew that once the 2 of them used it, one of them would die. In that situation just now, Dongwa Tian had helped his younger brother and transferred his cultivation to Dongwa Yun. The power of the world spinning was shocking, completely beyond the imagination of the experts. No one had expected the world to spin so mysteriously. It actually fused the cultivation of 2 people at the same time and severely injured the opponent. Pfft! Very good, very good. I didn't expect the 2 of you to cultivate the world spinning. However, I already knew that the 2 of you were spinning, haha. Below, Dazzling Sound's originally weak aura stabilized. He slowly stood up and laughed loudly. His eyes were cold and sharp as he looked at Dongwa Yun. This time, even if he understood that the Dongwa brothers were spinning, it was impossible to easily resist. At the most critical moment, he could only protect himself from dying. He had paid a heavy price, which was that his cultivation would drop by 1 realm after half an hour. This realm could not be recovered within 100 years. Hades' clone. When Dongwa Yun saw Dazzle Sound's situation, he cried out in shock. At this moment, he naturally understood what was going on. It turned out that the other party had already planned everything. He had let the two of them use the heaven and earth swirl, but the other party had used the Nether King's clone. Now that their brothers had died, the other party was only injured. However, while he was screaming, his figure had already flashed down. A shocking Milky Way light shot towards Xianyin. His brother had fallen, and his opponent had only been injured. He naturally felt bad that he had died in vain. He also understood the current situation. If he didn't take the opportunity to make a move, he wouldn't have a chance to kill Dazzling Sound. In fact, he wouldn't even have a chance to survive. The world spun and turned against the heavens. It could turn into water and wood and disappear between heaven and earth. However, an attack that was destroyed would only die, just like turning into water and wood. Donghua Tian's death could not be exchanged for Xianyin's death. This was the danger of the divine martial continent. There were all kinds of schemes and conspiracies, and all kinds of battles of experience. Dazzling Sound Arrow. Dazzling Sound was surprised, but an evil smile appeared on his face as he drew his bow with both hands. Suddenly, a stream of profound yin qi appeared in the air. The profound yin qi formed an arrow, and a phantom bow appeared. The Dazzling Sound Arrow shot towards the light of the Milky Way with destructive power. The battle between the two people made all the martial artists stunned. Everything that had just happened had completely exceeded their imaginations. They had never thought that a great battle would have such a scheme. At the moment of life and death between the two of them, a subtle fluctuation appeared in the air. Divine Heaven-Splitting Shield. Heaven-Splitting Shuttle. A faint voice appeared in the air. A middle-aged man appeared not far from Donghua Yun, but this person did not attack Donghua Yun. Donghua Yun didn't put up any defenses against this middle-aged man. This scene was incomparably strange. The middle-aged man and Donghua Yun formed a corner formation. A huge shield that gave off a powerful and heavy aura appeared and blocked in front of Donghua Yun. At the same time, he waved his hand, and a shuttle-shaped treasure with an indestructible force shot towards Dazzling Sound. This change, Dazzling Sound did not expect it, and the other martial artists did not expect it either. He hadn't expected such a change to occur at this time. It was obvious that Donghua Yun knew about the existence of the person beside him. Everything was within his calculations. Stop! When Dazzling Sound saw the expert who suddenly appeared in the sky, he was instantly shocked to death. If there were a few martial saints together, he would not be afraid at all. However, when they were alone, that person was definitely in existence like the god of death. The appearance of this person in the air meant that the terrifying figure was here. In his current situation, not to mention that terrifying figure, even this Donghua Yun in front of him was giving him a headache. Coupled with this level 3 expert, he did not have the slightest chance. He hurriedly shouted for him to stop. Is that possible? Killing intent surged in Donghua Yun's eyes. He understood Dazzling Sound's current situation and showed no mercy. Light poured down like a galaxy. The powerhouse who appeared in the sky was Martial Saint Ming Luo. He was originally hiding, but he was instructed by Li Lingtian to persuade Donghua Yun to surrender and help him kill Xianyin. In this way, he had dealt with 3 powerful martial saints at once and had even gained a powerful martial saint helper. Ming King Immovable Golden Body. Dazzled Sound saw that the other party could not stop at all. His face was ashen, and his expression became ruthless. His entire body was covered in golden light, like a statue of a wise king. Boom! Boom! 2 destructive explosions sounded out as the Dazzling Sound arrow hit the divine heaven-splitting shield, helping Donghua Yun block the destructive attack. At the same time, the Milky Way light and the sky-splitting shuttle bombarded the Ming Emperor immovable golden body. The world shook violently, and the space was torn apart inch by inch. Shoo! What a thick turtle shell! All the experts gasped. Martial Saint Ming Luo was shocked when she saw that her attack did not break through the opponent's defense. The golden light only trembled violently for a moment before stabilizing. Dazzling Sound smiled. he had finally blocked 2 destructive attacks. As long as he could block the 2 attacks, he would have a chance to escape. Now, he had finally blocked them. However, just as his smile appeared, it turned into fear, and his eyes were filled with despair and ashes. Profound sky arrow. A delicate voice rang out. It was like the sound of nature. As soon as he finished speaking, the spiritual chi between heaven and earth condensed, forming a strange passage. In this passage, an ancient light shadow shot over at a speed that ignored the distance of space. In an instant, it pierced through the void and arrived in front of him. This arrow pierced through the air. It was a stunning arrow. The arrow became eternal, as if it came from beyond the heavens. Tisk. When the light shadow arrived, Dazzle Sound's Ming King immovable golden body had already disappeared. A hole had appeared in his chest, and blood kept flowing out. Dazzling Sound's expression was calm, without the slightest hint of shock. He only looked at his chest indifferently. It turned out that the appearance of the light shadow only represented death. The light shadow was just the airflow brought by the profound heavenly arrow after it broke through the air. The passage of spiritual energy instantly formed, allowing the profound heavenly arrow to ignore space and time. No speed or defense could block this arrow. Pfft! The mysterious heavenly divine bow was born at the wrong time. Dazzling Sound looked at the arrow floating in the air, and his eyes revealed a look of unwillingness. The Ming King's immovable golden body actually encountered the mysterious heavenly divine bow. This was the wrong time. All of this happened in less than 10 seconds. In the eyes of all the experts, it was as if an entire world had passed. The originally powerful and heaven-defying Dazzling Sound was actually killed in the end. Even when he died, he did not see the expert who killed him. Big brother, how is my mysterious heavenly divine bow? Is it powerful? In the sky, that delicate voice sounded again. As soon as the voice fell, a light shield appeared. Inside the light shield was a group of peerless girls. One of the fairy-like girls was holding an exquisite bow in her hand. She looked up at the young man beside her and asked happily. Then, the light shield landed on the ground. All the girls came out and the light shield disappeared. That's right. GE was able to control the mysterious heavenly divine bow in such a short period of time. It's indeed not simple. This is your talent as an elf princess. Naturally, Li Lingtian and the others were the ones who came. Li Lingtian looked at GE and stroked his hair with a loving expression. This subordinate greets young master. Marshal Saint Ming Luo landed before Li Lingtian and bowed respectfully. Finally, she retreated to the back and stood with Longda and the other 2. All the warriors were shocked when they saw Li Lingtian and the group of girls. They did not expect to encounter a perverted powerhouse like Li Lingtian in this place. They were all terrified. None of them dared to make a sound. They knew that if they did, they might be wiped out by Li Lingtian. At that moment, their fate was in the hands of others. Sir, you helped me kill Dazzling Sound and saved me. I will follow you forever, and I will go through fire and water for you. Dong Guiyun came before Li Lingtian and muttered to himself for a moment before calming himself down. It was indeed a little difficult for an expert like him to bow down to others, but he understood the current situation and the other party's intentions. If not for the other party's help, he would definitely have fallen, and he would not have been able to take revenge for his brother. You don't have to say anything to me. You should follow him. He has the final say in these matters. Li Lingtian said calmly. Without even looking at Dong Guiyun, he walked straight to Dazzling Sound's corpse. He went down and put away a bag of holding. His divine sense entered the bag, and his expression was calm. I don't wish to see you again. Li Lingtian retracted his divine consciousness and looked at the martial emperor powerhouse that was born as he spoke indifferently. Then, he waved his hand, signaling these people to leave. He didn't plan to keep these people, but he didn't want to kill them either. Letting these people go would not affect him. Even if they became enemies in the future, he would not regret it. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Instantly, all the martial artists were incomparably excited, as if they had just received amnesty. They thought that Li Lingtian was going to kill them all, but they never expected him to let them off so easily. After thanking him, his figure flashed and he quickly left, flying towards the sky and sea. Li Lingtian looked up into the void with a faint smile on his face as he watched the powerhouses leave. "Why do you always like to be like this? Aren't you tired?" Li Lingtian said lightly before he looked away from the sky. "I recommend the new book, Ancient Sage Myriad Ancient King. I welcome everyone to read and save it. I also want to vote for it. The new book needs everyone's support. Only with everyone's support can the new book go further." Chapter 606, Magical Island, 1, I'll be leaving first. The space fluctuated slightly, and a figure streaked across the void like a meteor, flying toward the sky and sea. That gray figure seemed to have merged with the sky. If one did not pay attention, they would not be able to see it. This was also due to Li Lingtian's control of the 5 elements and space. He could easily sense everything in the space. If he wanted to hide in the air, he would be asking for trouble. Dong Guiyun was shocked in his heart. He did not expect that there was still a super expert hiding in the sky. He had also discovered the existence of that person. He was at the peak of the 3rd sky of the Martial Saint realm, an existence similar to Xianyin. Unexpectedly, this powerhouse was so afraid in front of Li Lingtian that he did not even dare to show his face. "Let's leave this place first in case other experts come." Li Lingtian looked at Tang Qingyue and the others before he flashed and flew toward the ocean. Originally, this island was a good place to rest. However, after a huge battle here, the spatial fluctuations and movements would definitely attract more experts. The abyss was a boundless sea with countless islands. Only the true center was where the abyss existed. As Li Lingtian and the rest continued flying, they encountered more powerhouses, but they seldom made a move. They flew directly toward the center. During this period of time, Dong Guiyun passed the Tiandu ringtone to Li Lingtian. The two of them were not wood elemental to begin with. It was just that they were tempted by a divine artifact. Furthermore, the Tiandu ringtones were for girls. He was a man, so he naturally didn't like such treasures. Instead of being sad when she saw the Tiandu ringtone, she might as well give it to Li Lingtian. He knew that Li Lingtian did not need such a treasure, but he could give it to the girl beside Li Lingtian. Tang Zimeng had a wood-type martial soul, so it was just right for her to use the Tiandu bell. The Tiandu bell was a divine artifact. Although it was only a low-grade divine artifact, it was enough to increase her strength by a large margin. On this day, the group of people arrived at a huge island and was immediately shocked. This was because there was such a huge island in the bottomless abyss. It was really shocking. Moreover, this island was completely a continent. It was unknown how big it was, and there were countless residents on it. Swoosh! Li Lingtian and the others landed on the island with a hint of excitement on their faces. It felt good to be on solid ground. Although they had encountered some islands in the past, they always gave people a sense of unease. It was as if half of the island was blown away by the sea breeze at any time. This island could no longer be called an island, but a continent. I can finally be grounded. After Tang Zimeng landed, she was extremely happy. The other girls were the same. On the other hand, Li Lingtian found it funny. He felt sorry for the girls around him. Even though the training was tough and dangerous, it was normal after all. In the divine martial continent, becoming a warrior was not something one could control. This place is so rich in spiritual energy. Apart from the lack of sunlight and moonlight, the spiritual energy in this place is several times denser than in Nandu County. Tang Qingyue felt the aura of this place, and a look of surprise appeared on her face. Ever since he came to the bottomless abyss, he had not felt any spiritual qi. Even when he was on the sea area just now, he had not sensed any spiritual qi at the moment he landed. Only on this island could one feel the spiritual energy. That's right. This spiritual energy can only be felt on the island. Huangfu Yuyan also spoke up. She was extremely amazed by this place. Spiritual energy was like air, but in this place, it was as if there was an invisible restriction controlling the spiritual energy. What a magical formation! Li Lingtian was curious as well. He began to use his divine perception to sense the surroundings. After sensing the surroundings, a surprised expression appeared on his face. The formation in this place is actually an ancient magical formation. I've never heard of it before. There's such a thing. Darling is very familiar with ancient and primordial divine formations, but you can't see through this formation. It seems that this place is really magical. Shun Mei was shocked when she heard Li Lingtian's words. In terms of array Dao and alchemy Dao, no one in this world could compare to L1 Lingtian. Li Lingtian also controlled the divine array diagram and was proficient in the world's great array, ancient divine array, and ancient forbidden array. However, she did not expect that even Li Lingtian could not see through the array formation in this place. How could she not be shocked? There are all kinds of strange things in this world. Even if the divine array diagram is in my hands, it doesn't mean that I can know all the arrays in the world. Furthermore, there are many cultivation techniques, skills, array formations, and pill Dao. Everything that is recorded will forever only be 10 to 20% of the original. There are often many things that are not famous, but they are heaven-defying existences. 6 Li Lingtian replied with a smile. It was impossible to record everything in the world. How could one record everything in the world just by recording it? Just like geniuses, there were only a few famous ones. However, powerful existences often did not care about fame. They were extremely powerful, and that was the case for hermits. Just like the Azure continent, it didn't look very powerful, but there were countless hermits in it. It was the same for the Tianhe district. It seemed that the 4 families and the 4 cities were very powerful, but the truly powerful Shenyuan family could easily sweep the entire Tianhe district. Let's find a place to stay first. Tang Qingyue looked around. There were countless residents in this place, but when she saw them, there was no fear or fear. It was as if she saw ordinary people. Then, he suggested that they stay and rest for a period of time. Let's go. Li Lingtian nodded and led the group into the distance. Along the way, the residents here were all busy. They were all ordinary residents, which meant that they were the natives here. However, these people were no different from the people of Shenzhou. They all worked at sunrise and rested at sunset. Although there was no sunlight or moonlight in this place, the spiritual qi here was dense and there were countless resources. They could also kill sea beasts and fish to survive. The arrival of Li Lingtian and the others seemed to have become a habit for the residents. Longda asked around and came to Li Lingtian's side. Young master, the residents here are very familiar with our arrival. In the past, countless experts came here. They all knew about it and didn't care at all. A few days ago, many experts came here. It should be the others, but they didn't stop. Instead, they flew towards the center. Longda spoke respectfully beside Li Lingtian. After that, he retreated to the side and waited for Li Lingtian's instructions. Ming Luo, it's better for you to go. If there are any changes, come back and tell me. Li Lingtian muttered to himself before he spoke to Marshal Saint Ming Luo. Marshal Saint Ming Luo bowed respectfully after she heard that. Li Lingtian and the others flew forward at a moderate pace. This island should be the center, which is also the center of the bottomless abyss. We have already arrived at the edge of the bottomless abyss. Let's find a place to rest for a while. We'll head there after Marshal Saint Ming Luo comes back from asking around. Li Lingtian whispered to Tang Qingyue and the others as he flew. At the same time, he paid attention to the residents here. Although the spiritual energy here was extremely dense and almost tangible, these residents actually did not have the slightest cultivation. However, what shocked him was that many of these residents had a lifespan of 200 to 300 years. They looked middle-aged. This was the first time he had seen an ordinary person with such a long fespan without cultivating. He had never heard of it before. It seemed that it had something to do with the array formation and spiritual energy here. Otherwise, a human who did not know how to cultivate would die at the age of 100 at most. After flying for a full 2 hours, the group found an inn and alighted. After asking around, he found out that this island was the same as the mainland, except that there was only one city on it. There were tens of millions of residents, so there were naturally inns. Li Lingtian and the others booked the inn and brought Tang Qingyue and the rest to the backyard. Although the residents of this place did not cultivate, spirit stones were very useful to them. They also used spirit stones as currency. Furthermore, there were spirit mines on the island. Naturally, Li Lingtian and the rest's spirit stones were useful. You guys rest first. Take advantage of the opportunity to rest well, in case something happens. Li Lingtian told Tang Qingyue and the others after he entered the courtyard and cast a few restriction spells and array formations. Then, Tang Qingyue and the others returned to their rooms to rest. Li Lingtian was also meditating in his room as his divine consciousness entered the divine dragon ring. Silk. There was a slight fluctuation in the air before a throne with a radius of 2 meters appeared in front of Li Lingtian. This throne was obtained by Dishi family when they entered the ancient battlefield with 5 elements at the peak. At that time, they got a few magical items and took this throne with them. He didn't expect that the throne would tremble in the divine dragon ring after coming to this island. The movement shocked Li Lingtian. The divine dragon ring was an independent space that could isolate any kind of sensing. However, he did not expect the throne to move on its own. He had encountered many things. Others might think it was impossible, but he did not think so. Because he had experienced all sorts of strange things, he naturally believed that the throne was shaking as if it was being attracted by the outside world. If he had not encountered such a thing before, he would naturally not believe. After all, these things were difficult to understand. I wonder what you can sense in this bottomless abyss. Li Lingtian looked at the throne before him. When his cultivation base was low, he was almost about to worship the throne under its pressure. However, after his cultivation base increased, he had sealed the throne a few times and the aura of a sovereign was completely sealed away. Chapter 607, Spirit Stone Pillar. He looked around for a long time, but he didn't find anything. However, after the throne appeared, the feeling became even stronger. In the end, Li Lingtian placed it into the divine dragon ring. He was also paying extra attention to the throne in case anything happened to him. However, he knew the direction to this place even without asking around. After all, the deeper they went, the denser the spiritual energy was. As long as they followed the direction of the dense spiritual energy, it would be fine. 6 days later, Marshal Saint Ming Luo had returned with serious injuries. Li Lingtian's face was filled with killing intent when he saw this. Anyone who dared to provoke him would be courting death. What happened? Li Lingtian asked coldly. His expression did not change at all, but Long De and the others could feel Li Lingtian's murderous intent and were extremely touched. With such a master angry for them, even if they died, it was worth it. I went to the outside of the bottomless abyss, but I was injured by Tang Haolong and Yang Yunzong. Fortunately, a destructive killing intent appeared at that time and attacked us. I took the opportunity to escape. Otherwise, I would have been killed by Yang Yunzong and Tang Haolong. Marshal Saint Ming Luo recounted the events of that day. The murderous intent in Li Lingtian's eyes grew stronger before it finally disappeared. However, it wasn't that his killing intent had disappeared. It was that his killing intent had reached its peak. Only by destroying the other party could he vent the hatred in his heart. Go back to the divine dragon ring to heal your wounds. Li Lingtian replied calmly before he put Marshal Saint Ming Luo into the divine dragon ring and sat on the chair in deep thought. 2/3 heaven martial saints were a problem. Even if they joined forces, they might not be able to kill them. The powerhouses who entered the bottomless abyss this time naturally did not include those below the martial supreme realm. There were 13 martial saint powerhouses alone, and one of them was killed outside. Some time ago, Donghua Tian and Dazzling Sound had fallen during the fight for the Tiandu ring tone. Donghua Yun had been subdued. In other words, there were still 9 Marshall Saint powerhouses here. Fortunately, among the 9 Marshall Saint powerhouses, there were only 3 super powerhouses. These 3 were the ones Li Lingtian feared the most. He was also most worried about them joining forces. The most worrying thing had happened. Yang Yunzong and Tang Haolong had joined forces to deal with Marshal Saint Ming Luo. Their combined forces could wipe out anyone. Now, he had to separate the 3 of them and defeat them one by one. Li Lingtian stood up after a long moment of thought. He then instructed Long De and the others to head to the bottomless abyss immediately. Since Marshal Saint Ming Luo and the other 2 were injured, and Marshal Saint Ming Luo had returned, Tang Haolong and Yang Yunzong should be heavily injured as well. At this time, if they met them, they could kill them. Swoosh, swoosh. In the sky, the group of people flew quickly toward the place with the densest spiritual energy. A few days ago, he had asked around. The center of the island was the bottomless abyss. The spiritual chi in that place was soaring, and one could feel the existence of spiritual chi from afar. When the time comes, there might be a fierce battle. You guys enter the divine dragon ring first. Li Lingtian said to the girls beside him as they flew. Even if Tang Qingyue and the others had experienced the battle of the martial saints, the difference in their cultivation levels was too great. They would still be crushed to death on the verge of the battle, let alone participating in the battle. He didn't want to have any worries during the battle. Otherwise, he would lose before the battle even started. All right. Tang Qingyue nodded obediently. She understood what Li Lingtian meant. They wanted to help Li Lingtian, but they did not want to be his burden. Hence, they had no choice but to return to the divine dragon ring. However, there were still 1 or 2 days before the bottomless abyss could be felt. During this time, he could also enjoy the scenery of this place. Do you plan to take away the spiritual energy in this place? Huang Fuyuyan looked at Li Ling with a smile. No, there are too many residents in this place. They rely on spiritual energy to survive. If I take away the spiritual energy, I will be harming the common people. Li Lingtian did not hesitate at all. In the past, he could store some rich spirit chi into the divine dragon ring. The rich spiritual energy in many places had been taken away, so the spiritual energy in the divine dragon ring was very rich now. However, that was in the past. Although there were experts cultivating in those places, they did not rely on spiritual energy to survive. Instead, the spiritual energy in this place had become the air for the residents. Naturally, he would not do so. The girls were elated after hearing Li Lingtian's words. Even if an expert would resort to all means, he still had to be humane and care about the common people. Otherwise, he wouldn't be an expert, but a demon. Boom! In the sky, there was a shocking explosion. Li Lingtian and the others had already arrived at the center. They were shocked when they saw the astonishing spirit chi pillar 10,000 miles away. 10,000 miles away, countless pillars of spiritual energy shot into the 9 heavens. It was unknown whether these pillars of spiritual energy poured down from the 9 heavens or whether they rose up from below. There were tens of thousands of spiritual energy pillars, and each spiritual energy pillar had a radius of 2 meters. The spiritual energy had already formed a physical form. The physical pillar kept spinning like a hurricane. The momentum shocked Li Lingtian and the others. Everything he had seen in the past was too easy to deal with. The current momentum was truly heaven-defying. Even from 10,000 miles away, one could feel this shocking spiritual chi pressure. This pressure was emitted by spiritual chi. Spirit pressure could only appear in the upper realm, but it actually appeared in this place. Hurry up and enter the divine dragon ring. Li Lingtian could feel the overwhelming spirit pressure. He quickly shouted at Tang Qingyue and the others with a grave expression on his face. It was the same even from thousands of miles away. If they were in the bottomless abyss, who would be able to withstand the spiritual pressure? He was a martial emperor, so he could not guarantee that he could withstand the spiritual pressure. Naturally, Tang Qingyue and the other martial emperors were not confident at all. All right, be careful. Tang Qingyue and the others nodded and obediently agreed. However, they did not forget to remind him at the end. Li Lingtian did not hesitate any longer. He activated the Divine Dragon Ring with his divine consciousness, and Tang Qingyue and the rest disappeared into the Divine Dragon Ring once again. After doing everything, he looked at Longde and the other two. His figure flashed and he quickly flew towards the center of the spiritual pressure. In the blink of an eye, the four figures disappeared. A distance of 10,000 miles was only a matter of time for a martial emperor or martial saint. This was because a martial emperor would have more control over the world. Spatial bending was a very simple thing. Moreover, martial emperors and martial saints were extremely fast. It only took a few minutes for them to cover a distance of 10,000 miles. What a terrifying spiritual pressure. It's actually all spiritual energy pillars. What dense spiritual energy! Li Lingtian's group of four finally arrived at the edge of the bottomless abyss. They were extremely shocked when they saw the spirit chi pillar with a radius of 100 miles. Each spiritual pillar was 100 meters wide, and there were more than 1,000 of them. The spiritual energy pillars seemed to be scattered, but they contained a magical array. Even Li Lingtian could not recognize the name of the formation at once. Spiritual chi was definitely an indispensable source of cultivation for powerhouses. However, even a martial emperor powerhouse could not cultivate in such a place when faced with such a shocking spiritual chi pillar. The terrifying spiritual energy could directly destroy a martial artist. Water could carry a boat, but it could also capsize it. Be careful, this place is not simple. Li Lingtian looked at the world of the spirit chi pillar and the sky before he spoke in an indifferent tone. Moreover, he also saw all the other experts at the edge of the spiritual energy pillar, ready to enter at any time. These experts seemed to be waiting for something and did not enter directly. No one noticed the arrival of Li Lingtian's group of four. Instead, they focused all their attention on the spirit chi world as if there was a treasure inside. 62 martial emperors and 9 martial saints are all here. Li Lingtian thought to himself. Among these powerhouses, the martial supreme was at the 8th or 9th heaven, while the rest were also martial saints. Tang Haolong and Yang Yunzong were also among these experts. However, they did not pay attention to Li Lingtian and the others at this time. This way, Li Lingtian and the others would not attract attention. Boom! Boom! With a shocking explosion, 7 consecutive explosions followed. In the world of spiritual energy, all the spiritual energy pillars did not stop at all. Instead, they rotated rapidly. The spiritual energy pillar spun like a whirlwind. At this moment, huge stone pillars appeared on the ground. This stone pillar was either gold, green, or blue. Moreover, these pillars ignored the terrifying spiritual pressure. When they saw these pillars, everyone was stunned because these stone pillars were all spirit stones, whole spirit stones. Moreover, the quality was extremely good, top-grade spirit stones. 7 top-grade spirit stone pillars. What kind of concept was this? A single top-grade spirit stone was a heavenly treasure. For example, each top-grade spirit stone pillar could be divided into 10 million pieces. In other words, this spirit stone pillar had at least 10 million top-grade spirit stones. Moreover, the entire pillar was tens of thousands of times more precious than 10 million top-grade spirit stones. 7 such spiritual energy pillars were simply heaven-defying. More importantly, there was a fist-sized translucent bead on each of the 7 pillars. This bead had the same color as the spirit stone pillar. Divine crystals. Li Lingtian nearly cried out in surprise. This pearl was a divine crystal. Only the legendary mighty true gods could refine spiritual stones into divine crystals. One divine crystal was equivalent to a world's spiritual chi. He didn't expect that not only would there be divine crystals, but there were also 7 divine crystals. Each divine crystal had an attribute. Divine crystals were refined by ancient mighty figures. Even ancient mighty figures might not be able to refine them. How could Li Lingtian not be shocked by such an existence? He was not the only one who was shocked. The other powerhouses were also stunned. Chapter 608, Chapter 607, The demonic creature of Een corrosion. After the spirit stone pillar appeared, the 7 divine crystals emitted a mysterious light. All of a sudden, all the lights connected together to form a massive array. A colorful world appeared before Li Lingtian and the others. The spiritual energy pillar was still spinning, and it was spinning even faster. Swoosh! At this moment, a black hole appeared in the colorful world. The black light from the black hole soared into the sky. The light shot up into the sky with shocking might. Demonic chi? No, it's not just demonic chi. Li Lingtian's heart trembled when he saw the shocking black radiance. He was shocked by the black radiance. For a moment, he could not determine what this black light was. It looked like demonic chi, but it was not demonic chi. The shocking power suppressed the entire area within a radius of 10,000 miles. Everyone was incomparably shocked, but this black light erupted. Although he did not know what this black light was, humans were naturally uncomfortable with black things. Fortunately, the countless spiritual energy pillars suppressed the black light. The 2 extremely magical auras collided with each other, but the black light could not be surrounded by the spiritual energy pillars. To put it bluntly, it was these spiritual energy pillars that suppressed the black light. These spiritual energy pillars and the shocking divine crystals all existed for this black light. Swoosh! After an unknown period of time, Li Lingtian and the others watched the black radiance and the astonishing spirit chi battle before their eyes. Finally, there was a slight sound, and the black light returned to the black hole. Let's go! Li Lingtian looked at the 7 divine crystals with envy in his eyes. However, his expression soon returned to normal. He didn't dare to touch the divine crystals easily. If he attracted some powerful and heaven-defying demonic creature, he would be finished. He could understand this and control his mood. As his gaze fell, he shouted at Longde and the other 2. The 3 of them immediately disappeared and quickly flew into the black hole. Naturally, the trio would not allow Li Lingtian to take the risk. Hence, they were the first to enter the black hole. At the same time, Li Lingtian flew into the black hole. Seeing Li Lingtian and the others enter the black hole, the rest of the warriors reacted and quickly flew into the black hole. In the blink of an eye, dozens of experts disappeared. In the world, the spiritual energy pillars were still spinning. The 7 top-grade spirit stone pillars and the divine crystals were all spinning continuously, forming a mysterious and powerful array. Swoosh! After Li Lingtian entered the black hole, it was as if he had entered a whirlpool in the sea. He quickly fell down along the whirlpool. After an unknown period of time, Li Lingtian finally landed on solid ground. His eyes were open, but he couldn't see anything. It was as if he was born in darkness. Even the divine sense of an expert was relatively suppressed. His current divine sense could only extend to 10 meters outside. At this moment, he was completely blind. He couldn't even see 10 meters away, and his divine sense could only find a little bit of things. At the same time, he also discovered a few other auras, the aura of a martial saint and the aura of a martial emperor. In this place, they did not dare to make a move because they were afraid of being surrounded by other experts. Even a few martial saints did not dare to kill a martial emperor easily. After all, in such a place, one had to maintain their true energy and mental strength at their peak state first. They could not consume any of it. Young master. Soon, Longde and the other 2 arrived at Li Lingtian's side. The 3 of them had been with Li Lingtian for a long time, so they were familiar with their auras. Furthermore, Li Lingtian had planted a Dao array on them, allowing them to easily sense each other's presence from 1,000 miles away. In this way, they would be able to know where the other party was. At this time, this Dao array was useful. This place is pitch black. Let's follow the passage and find a place with light. Li Lingtian said softly as the 4 of them walked forward along the passageway. They didn't know where they were, but they could feel that this was a wide passageway. Moreover, there was a mysterious array formation where they came down from. It was already impossible to go up. The only way now was to find the light. Only by figuring out this place could they take the next step. If it didn't work, they would think of a way to leave this place. At the same time, there were countless powerhouses walking around in other places. They were using the same method as Li Lingtian to seek out the light. Ah! Ah! At some point in time, screams sounded. It was the sound of a martial emperor dying, and it was very painful. In this place, in this scene, hearing such a miserable cry, all the experts felt their hair stand on end. Li Lingtian's group of 4 stopped and extended their divine perception to look at the source of the screams. As their divine perception swept past, a few corpses fell to the ground. In the pitch-black space, strange objects were twisting. These strange objects were the existences that caused the martial emperor powerhouses to die instantly. Yin Corrosion Demon. Li Lingtian cried out in surprise. He could not hold it in any longer. Looking at this object, his mind spun rapidly. He quickly thought of the Yin Corrosion Devil. This was the most terrifying thing in the divine martial continent. This kind of Yin Corrosion Devil did not belong to this world at all. Instead, it was left behind after the ancient war. It was extremely terrifying. It could ignore any attack and defile any treasure of humans and demons. Humans and demons would die if they touched it. Not to mention a martial supreme, even a martial saint or martial god would lose a layer of skin if they accidentally touched such a thing. What? Do you know the origin of this thing? Is it really a demon? Are you sure? The few martial saint powerhouses were shocked when they heard Li Lingtian's words. Although their expressions could not be seen clearly, one could imagine the shock of the few martial saints from their voices. Naturally, some powerhouses knew of the existence of the Yin Corrosion Devil, but they had never seen it before. Naturally, they were shocked when Li Lingtian mentioned the Yin Corrosion Devil. That's right, this is the Yin Corrosion Devil. I've seen it in ancient books, so one can't be wrong. Li Lingtian nodded. At this moment, they did not fight immediately. In such an unknown place, the first reaction of humans was to unite against the outside world. This was how humans and demons dealt with demons. During the war between humans and demons, no matter what grudges there were between humans, they would put them aside temporarily. This was the instinct of humans. Not good. At this moment, a cry of surprise sounded. It was unknown which martial saint powerhouse it came from. Although this place was not big, the few martial saints maintained a certain distance to avoid being killed by the other party. If they were not familiar with each other, they would not be able to recognize the other party. They were all too familiar with Li Lingtian's voice because he had robbed them before. What's wrong? What happened? What happened? Instantly, everyone asked. They were extremely anxious and did not dare to make the slightest movement. Although the Yin Corrosion Demon was terrifying, as long as you didn't move, it wouldn't move. It was like a solid. However, if you touched it, you would be finished. In other words, this Yin Corrosion Demon was an item that did not have its own consciousness. A few martial monarch realm experts had just died. They were all unlucky and did not notice that they had encountered the Yin Corrosion Demon. However, when they heard someone say that it was not good, everyone became concerned. In such a place, they did not dare to be full of confidence, let alone be the slightest bit careless. The existence of the Yin Corrosion Devil is not simple. If this Yin Corrosion Devil is away from its master for a long time, it will become a dead object, which is death. Moreover, the Yinshur demon is a treasure of the ancient mighty figure, Great Venerable Yinshur. Only Great Venerable Yinshur can nurture such a demon. This hidden powerhouse told him the origin of the Yin Corrosion Demon, although he did not say anything directly. However, all the experts understood that the Yinshur demonic creature existed and was still alive. In other words, Great Venerable Yinshur was here. This was the only way to keep the demon alive. How could they not be shocked by this news? Great Venerable Yinshur was an ancient mighty figure. Even if he was not famous, it was enough to shock people that he had lived until now. Moreover, this great venerable Einshir could be a terrifying figure. Even the ancient controller was almost killed by great venerable Einshir. Not many people knew about the ancient war. Those who knew had basically disappeared. However, a few famous figures had always been in the hearts of humans, like legends that could never be erased. This great venerable Einshir was one of them, but he was a figure that all humans in the world feared. For a moment, the entire passageway was filled with panic and silence. The aura was so oppressive that it almost made people collapse. The appearance of the Einshir demon meant that great venerable Einshir might be here. Although almighty experts were not immortal, there was nothing that could truly kill them. They could only be used to suppress them. This was because the strength of an almighty expert had already reached the level where their soul could not be destroyed. As long as their divine spark did not die, their lives would exist forever. The life of an almighty expert had already exceeded the imagination of ordinary people. It could not be measured by life. This great venerable Einshir was most likely here. Since there was such a terrifying figure here, everyone was naturally in a dilemma. Retreat. It was unknown who said this, but all the experts immediately collapsed and quickly retreated. Pft! Pft! Ah, ah! Suddenly, a series of strange sounds rang out. The retreating experts instantly died. Some did not even have time to scream. In an instant, more than a dozen super experts had died inexplicably. Li Lingtian was horrified as well. This time, he had a clear look at what had killed these super powerhouses. It was a strange aura that carried supreme majesty. How terrifying was it to be able to instantly kill so many super experts with his dignity and aura. Chapter 609, Great Venerable Einshir, since you're here, stay here for me. While all the experts were still in shock, an ethereal voice rang out. The voice carried a strong penetrating power that pierced through everyone's hearts. In front of this voice, the experts in the passage seemed to be facing an oracle. It would be fine if it was an oracle, but in a place like this, it was obviously not an oracle but the voice of a demon. What should we do? Every martial artist asked themselves in their hearts. No one could remain calm in the face of a terrifying demon. Even a martial saint powerhouse was incomparably afraid. Although Li Lingtian was extremely fearful, he was not afraid at all. Since he was here, there was no use in being afraid. Only by facing it calmly could he overcome the difficulties. He circulated his ice soul martial spirit and suddenly felt a chill all over his body. He calmed down and started to think quickly. Let's go. His voice broke the silence in the darkness as all the warriors looked in Li Lingtian's direction. Although he couldn't see anything, he subconsciously looked at the source of the sound. Upon hearing Li Lingtian's voice, they were shocked and terrified. Leave? Wasn't this courting death? So many of them had just been silently killed. Who would still have the guts to leave? Where are we going? All the powerhouses asked in unison. They were unsure if Li Lingtian was referring to advancing or retreating when he said, go. Demons who advanced would die if they retreated. Of course we're going in. Do you have any other way now? Li Lingtian replied indifferently with an icy tone. At the same time, a stream of icy QJ shot towards Longda and the other two. Instantly, the chill intensified, and the three of them trembled for a moment, but their frightened hearts also calmed down. He understood that even if he did not use the frosty chi, if he were to advance, Longda and the other two would follow him without hesitation. Ta, ta, ta. Beep, beep, beep. In the passage, there were sounds of footsteps and dripping water. Other than the sound of footsteps and dripping water, there was the sound of experts breathing. It was obvious that the hearts of these experts were racing. It was pitch black, and still pitch black. There was no light, only darkness. There was no hope, only despair, and he had to walk towards despair to find hope. At this moment, all the powerhouses felt as if they had experienced a lifetime. If not for the strong state of mind of a martial emperor powerhouse, they would have collapsed long ago. Phew. After an unknown period of time, a ray of light suddenly appeared. It was as if a bright light had appeared in a dark room. This light could not be considered light. It was only light compared to the long darkness because all the experts had entered an abyss with a weak light. A faint light shone in, but this light was not sunlight or moonlight. Similarly, he could not see any part of the sky. The abyss was bottomless. However, at this time, all the experts were at the bottom of the bottomless abyss. No one knew how high it was above. The entire abyss was like an iron bucket, surrounded by mysterious and solid Yen, who was as smooth as a mirror. Li Lingtian looked up and realized that he was like a frog at the bottom of a well. The height of the abyss and the shocking feeling were like the arrival of the heavenly might, making people not dare to have the mentality of leaping up. The abyss was only 1,000 meters wide, and everything inside could be seen clearly. Hush! Seeing everything in the abyss, everyone let out a cold breath. In the center of the abyss was a huge cage. It was unknown what the cage was made of, but it emitted an ancient aura. Inside, there was a tall figure. Although his back was facing all the experts, this figure was extremely majestic in the hearts of all the experts, like an unshakable mountain. Moreover, this figure was emitting an endless and powerful destructive aura. The aura was fleeting. Great Venerable Ensure. When all the experts saw this figure, they cried out in surprise, and their hearts beat faster. The legendary Almighty Demon was really here. A great venerable-like existence could wipe out all lives with a flip of his hand. At this moment, no one could calm down. In the face of a heaven-defying and irresistible mighty figure, how could they still have the slightest sense of resistance? A person's name, a tree's shadow. Great Lord Ensure was an existence comparable to a god lord. Warriors who had him were all warriors, and they could not fight against a true god. Pfft! Ah! At this moment, the figure seemed to have been disturbed. The moment he turned around, a blood-red gaze appeared in everyone's sight. His eyes were blood-red, as if they were real. Under this gaze, most of the experts' divine senses were damaged and they suffered spiritual attacks. He spat out a mouthful of blood. In the worst-case scenario, 2 8th-level Martial Emperor Realm experts were killed. When Li Lingtian saw the gaze, he was shocked to the core. He secretly activated his divine soul eye and mobilized his divine consciousness. He had barely escaped this calamity. Otherwise, he would have been injured as well. This figure could destroy ordinary martial artists with just a casual glance. What kind of existence was this? Sigh, I'm still too weak. Sigh, it's better than nothing. Let's make do with it. His figure was like a true god as he examined all the martial artists. His eyes carried a disdainful aura. However, this figure only turned his head and could not turn around. Li Lingtian took a closer look and saw that the figure's feet were nailed to the ground while his hands were pierced by a thin thread. Li Lingtian's eyes were filled with horror when he saw the 2 thin threads. It must be very powerful to use such a tiny thing to imprison an almighty powerhouse. Are you really Great Venerable Ensure? At this moment, someone asked. Instantly, the entire abyss fell silent. No one dared to make a sound. Ignorance should be a kind of happiness. Unfortunately, you don't have this kind of happiness. I'm Great Venerable Ensure. You guys remember me? Great Venerable Ensure said indifferently. His calm voice carried supreme dignity. This was a true supreme expert. Hearing Great Venerable Ensure's answer, everyone was in complete despair. After coming to this place, even if Great Venerable Ensure was imprisoned, with Great Venerable Ensure's strength, no martial artist here could escape his control. In other words, this place was Great Venerable Ensure's ruler. He was the ruler of all of this. Swoosh! A gust of wind blew. At the same time, a martial emperor's body flew up automatically and quickly flew toward the cage. The martial emperor powerhouse's eyes were filled with fear. He did not have the slightest intention of resisting. He did not expect Great Venerable Ensure to be the first to catch him, and his body was taken away by the strange suction force. All the martial artists watched helplessly as this martial emperor was captured by Great Venerable Inshur. However, they did not dare to have any plans. The martial emperor powerhouse arrived above the cage in an instant. Immediately, a blood-red light appeared in Great Venerable Inshur's eyes. The blood-red light struck the martial emperor powerhouse directly. The martial emperor powerhouse floated in the air as if he was imprisoned. He did not resist at all. His eyes were filled with fear and despair. See, all the powerhouses watched as the martial emperor powerhouse's true origin, blood essence, and lifespan flowed away. All his life force was absorbed by the blood-red light. The martial emperor powerhouse's originally powerful cultivation and life force were sucked dry in the blink of an eye. In the end, he turned into a skeleton. The skeleton fell to the ground and turned into ashes. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. A martial emperor powerhouse's life force, true essence, and blood essence were devoured by Great Venerable Inshur. Seeing all of this, they understood Great Venerable Inshur's words. All the experts here would be killed and devoured. Ah! Rumble! A martial emperor could no longer withstand such terror. He circulated his quintessential essence and a destructive attack blasted towards Great Venerable Inshur in the cage. Great Venerable Inshur completely ignored this attack. When the attack arrived in front of the cage, it was offset by a layer of faint divine light on the cage. All the experts were stunned. Seeing their own kind being devoured by Great Venerable Inshur like a delicious meal, they were extremely afraid. Ah! All, one after another, martial emperor powerhouses were devoured by Great Venerable Inshur. Every time he devoured one, Great Venerable Inshur's body would explode with a shocking yin qi. This aura directly corroded the air into a poisonous fog. In the blink of an eye, all the martial emperor powerhouses turned into skeletons and ashes. Moreover, the martial artists present were all restrained by an inexplicable pressure, completely unable to move. Li Lingtian realized that the pressure did not come from Great Venerable Inshur but someone else. In other words, Great Venerable Inshur had two types of pressure, but this was impossible because no matter what attribute one cultivated, the pressure was the same. He secretly circulated his quintessential essence and scanned the area with his divine soul eye. Immediately, a look of horror appeared in his eyes. A huge wheel was floating above the cage. If it were not for Li Lingtian's divine soul eye, he would not have been able to discover the wheel that was hidden in the air. The wheel was extremely ancient and did not have the slightest luster. Beneath the 2-meter-long wheel, a slender man in black clothes and a purple crown floated. His face was extremely pale. Moreover, there was a pained expression on his face. The ancient wheel emitted a faint aura that suppressed the middle-aged man. It was obvious that this middle-aged man was enduring the destructive aura and restrictions brought by the wheel. His appearance blocked the destructive aura and restrictions on the wheel. It was obvious that he was helping Great Venerable Inshur below. Li Lingtian's eyes were filled with despair when he saw this. The man beneath the wheel was the mighty figure of the internals, the legendary great demonic god Di Tian. The pressure was emitted from great demonic god Di Tian's body. It suppressed all the experts and did not allow any movement. This way, Great Venerable Inshur could devour the true essence and blood essence of all the martial artists. Not bad, not bad. You guys are a little weak, but it's enough for me to leave the abyss and return to the heaven realm. I'll destroy all lives and unify the 3 worlds. Great Venerable Inshur said in satisfaction after devouring all the martial emperors. Then, he looked at the remaining martial saints with his blood-red eyes. Instantly, all the martial saints were shocked, and their bodies trembled non-stop. Because they were next, and they did not have the slightest bit of resistance. Swoosh! However, at this moment, a subtle sound appeared in the air, and a destructive force bombarded the cage. Chapter 610, Great Demonic God Di Tian. This attack was extremely strange. Other than the sound of the attack, there was no other sound in the entire abyss. All the experts were incomparably shocked. Even Great Venerable Inshur and Great Demonic God Di Tian, who was hiding in the dark, were incomparably shocked. In this place, everyone was imprisoned by the pressure. No one could attack at all. Let alone attack, even their fingers could not move. However, someone had actually launched an attack. How could this not be shocking? Tisk! Everyone turned to look at Li Lingtian. The powerhouses present were shocked. They knew how terrifying Li Lingtian was, but they had forgotten about his existence in this place. Even a true god would be killed instantly in front of great venerable Inshur. However, Li Lingtian unleashed a terrifying attack under the suppression of the pressure. The attack pierced through space and hit great venerable Inshur in the cage. Great venerable Inshur and the other experts revealed a trace of disdain in their eyes. There was a divine light on the cage, so they could not attack at all. With a soft sound, everyone was stunned. Great venerable Inshur's eyes also revealed a shocked expression. This was because that attack had penetrated the cage and ignored the divine light on the cage. It directly hit great venerable Inshur's body. The destructive power penetrated great venerable Inshur's body. Very good, very good. Saint Devil Chi. Great venerable Inshur looked at his chest that had been pierced through by the attack. The blood-red light in his eyes became even stronger, and his eyes were filled with greed. In the air, the great demonic god Di Tian cried out in shock. At the same time, the great demonic god Di Tian's figure was exposed in the air. That will was also displayed in front of all the martial saints. The great demonic god Di Tian's eyes were filled with shock and excitement as he glared coldly at Li Lingtian. The other martial saint experts were even more desperate. They did not expect that there would be another expert in this place other than great venerable Inshur. Although they did not know who this black-robed man with a purple crown was, he was definitely not that simple to be with great venerable Inshur. I've known about your existence for a long time. So, after I devour them, I'll seize your body of the 5 elements will of the way and become the supreme god of war to unify the world. I didn't expect you to not disappoint me. Great venerable Inshur looked at Li Lingtian with a strange glint in his eyes. All of a sudden, all the martial saints, including Li Lingtian, thought of a question. Why was it that all the martial saints were devoured but he was not? He hadn't noticed this problem at first, but now he finally understood. Great venerable Inshur had long noticed Li Lingtian's 5-element will body. However, he did not make a move and left it for the final possession. Huh, is it that simple? You want to take my place? You're not good enough. At that moment, Li Lingtian moved his body and took a step forward with ease. He looked extremely relaxed and did not seem to be suppressed at all. This action shocked all the martial saints, great venerable Inshur, and great demonic god Di Tian. He was actually ignored by the great demonic god's pressure. What kind of concept was this? Similarly, the 2 mighty figures were extremely curious about what Li Lingtian's appearance meant. They could sense that something was amiss. Not bad, you've made me even more satisfied. When great venerable Inshur saw that Li Lingtian had ignored the great demonic god Di Tian's pressure, he was shocked and happy. The stronger Li Lingtian was and the more heaven-defying he was, the more he liked him. This was because he would be able to possess Li Lingtian's talent after the possession. Humph, stop bragging here. Others might not know, but how could I not know about the 2 of you? Heaven Realm Almighty Great Venerable Inshur, Lord of the Demon World, Great Demon God Di Tian. In the past, you were strong. That was only in the past. But now, your cultivation has fallen to an intolerable level. After being suppressed by the demon suppression will for millions of years, your cultivation base is only at the 6th or 7th sky of the martial saint realm. In my opinion, you will disappear in less than 100 years. What immortality is all a joke? Li Lingtian replied indifferently. Although he looked calm and collected, his heart was filled with bitterness. Only by secretly unleashing the heavenly demon domain and dragon energy could he break through the great demonic god Di Tian's pressure. However, with his martial emperor cultivation base, he could not hold on for long. He was just guessing. As he spoke, he stared at Di Tian and Inshur. Shock flashed across their eyes. Although it was fleeting, Li Lingtian's eye of the divine soul caught it. He knew that he was right. The other party's identity was confirmed, and his cultivation was basically confirmed. I know quite a bit. Yours truly is the great demonic god Di Tian. How did you know my identity? Where did your saint demon Qi come from? Great demonic god Di Tian's expression changed continuously. He floated in the air, enduring the magical suppression of the demon suppressing wheel. He was astounded to see Li Lingtian speaking with confidence and composure in the face of two upper realm mighty figures. If he were standing in Li Lingtian's position, he would not have been so calm and collected. His calmness was driving him crazy. He was even more shocked and curious about the holy demon aura that Li Lingtian had just displayed. As the great demonic god, he naturally knew of the existence of the Saint Demon Qi. He had been chasing after Saint Devil Qi all this time, not hesitating to fight for it. He had never obtained the Saint Devil Qi he had been chasing for his entire life, yet it had appeared in a human's body. How could he not be shocked? Frog at the bottom of a well. Li Lingtian's expression was calm, but his divine perception was focused on the two mighty figures. If the two of them fought, he would be the first to dodge and prepare. With a disdainful look on his face, he stretched out his hand. Instantly, the entire abyss became scorching hot. The abyss was as hot as a blazing hell, almost devouring everything. The destructive aura of the burning devour flames emanated from Li Lingtian's body. The aura spread out and everyone felt fearful. At the same time, a ball of pure yang flames appeared in Li Lingtian's palm. The flames formed a strange pattern. The flame was extremely stable as it morphed into countless shapes in Li Lingtian's palm. However, Great Venerable Yinshe and Great Demonic God Di Tian's expressions became shocked, as if they had seen a ghost. Nine Suns Sacred Flame. It's the Nine Suns Sacred Flame. You are Nine Yang Saint Lord. Great Venerable Yinshe and Great Demonic God Di Tian exclaimed when they saw the flames in Li Lingtian's palm. At this moment, he no longer looked like a mighty figure. Instead, he looked like a weakling who had seen a terrifying mighty figure. In an instant, Li Lingtian's position was swapped with Great Venerable Yinshe and Great Demonic God Di Tian. It was Great Venerable Yinshe who was shocked by Li Lingtian instead of a martial supreme like Li Lingtian who was afraid of Great Venerable Yinshe. Not many people in the outside world knew of the Nine Yang Saint Lord's great name. However, those true super experts knew of the existence of a figure like the Nine Yang Saint Lord because the Nine Yang Saint Lord was an ancient mighty figure, an existence that the mighty figures of the upper realm looked up to. They did not expect that the ancient Almighty would appear in this place. Immediately, Great Venerable Yinshe and Great Demonic God Di Tian were as shocked as the Martial Emperor and the others when they saw Great Venerable Yinshe. All the martial saint powerhouses could not adapt to this change. They did not know what was going on. The two mighty figures were so afraid of Li Lingtian's flames that they could sense that he was not a simple man. He was so terrifying that even Great Venerable Yinshe was afraid of him. I have reincarnated 3,000 times. I am 10 million times stronger than before. Although I'm a martial monarch realm expert now, you can try. Let's see if your martial monarch realm experts are stronger than mine. Li Lingtian's expression did not change in the slightest as his smile remained. He looked at Great Demonic God Di Tian and Great Venerable Yinshe as he spoke with confidence. With just one sentence, he told them everything he knew. He didn't need to hide or pretend to be strong. Instead, he told them his cultivation level. This way, the two super mighty figures became even more afraid. In the past, they were all supreme existences. Now, one of them was a reincarnation of 3,000 reincarnations. Their cultivation levels had been suppressed and dropped. Now that their cultivation levels were not much different, they had a chance to fight. Hush! All the martial saint powerhouses were stunned and could not help but exhale a breath of cold air. A martial emperor had actually challenged two ancient mighty figures at the same time. Even if their cultivation had fallen, their experience, strength, and terrifying methods were simply unimaginable to martial artists. Furthermore, they were still feeling a lingering fear after learning of Li Lingtian's true identity. It was a blessing that he did not fight Li Lingtian when he was outside. If he had fought then, he would have died long ago. As soon as Li Lingtian finished speaking, the entire abyss fell silent. The atmosphere was strange and oppressive. It was so oppressive that all the martial saints felt like they were about to collapse. Great demonic god Di Tian and great venerable Yinshe were both looking at Li Lingtian with changing expressions. Similarly, Li Lingtian was looking at the great demonic god Di Tian. This great demonic god was Qing Wu's senior, but he had become an enemy under such circumstances. "Are you sure you want to fight us?" The great demonic god Di Tian looked at Li Lingtian in shock. The young man before him was the reincarnation of the Nine-Yang Saint Lord who possessed a miraculous and heaven-defying technique. What was even more terrifying was the Saint Demon Qi. Even now, great venerable Yinshe's wound was still spreading. It could not stop at all. If this continued, great venerable Yinshe would be destroyed by the Saint Demon Qi. Saint Devil Qi. As the great demonic god, he controlled the true devil Qi that unified the entire world of the devil race. However, he did not obtain the Saint Devil Qi. This Saint Devil Qi was only recorded in the devil race's ancient records. It was an ethereal existence in legends. However, the great demonic god Di Tian discovered something. The Saint Demon Qi did exist, but it was within humans. Otherwise, the war between the demons and humans would not have happened in the upper realm. Now that the holy demon aura had appeared on a human like Li Lingtian, they were even more puzzled and curious. Chapter 611, Counterattack, 1, Saint Lord Zhouyang, hehe. That's great. Although you don't have a divine spark or a divine body, you're much better than those trash. The blood-red radiance in great venerable Yinshe's eyes grew stronger as he glared at Li Lingtian coldly. Before Li Lingtian could reply to great demonic god Di Tian, he could not help but want to make a move. Because he knew the identity of this young man in front of him, he did not dare to be careless. Silk, there was a sound of fear in the air. Great venerable Yinshe's blood-red eyes seemed to have materialized as they tore through the air and shot toward Li Lingtian. His speed ignored the distance between them. Eye of the Divine Soul. Li Lingtian shouted softly as 3 exquisite lotus-shaped runes appeared on his glabella. His entire being was suddenly extremely demonic. The same red light shot towards the other party. Both eyes ignored space. The speed of his gaze was extremely fast, reaching an indescribable level. Tisk. Shoo. The 2 eyes collided, and a soft sound appeared in the air, as if space had shattered. Everyone was shocked. This wasn't a contest of strength, but a battle of powerful techniques, or rather, a battle of talent. They did not expect Li Lingtian to have such a mystical and heaven-defying gaze. His divine soul was heaven-defying and he was one of the most powerful beings in the world. The great demonic god Di Tian was shocked beyond words. He thought that Li Lingtian was about to fall at the hands of great venerable Yinshe. Even though he was curious, it did not change their plan. The only thing they could do was to kill Li Lingtian. However, they did not expect Li Lingtian to have the eye of the divine soul. Dang dang dang. Walla walla. In an instant, Li Lingtian took a few steps back as blood trickled down the corner of his mouth. His face was pale and powerless. However, great venerable Yinshe's condition was even worse. His legs were pinned down and he could not retreat. However, his entire body swayed and his face was ghastly pale. He looked even more miserable than Li Lingtian. Under one attack, the few martial saint powerhouses could not see the slightest victory or defeat. He did not know if Li Lingtian or great venerable Yinshe had failed, but a glimmer of hope was ignited in his heart. Since Li Lingtian was able to fight against great venerable Yinshe, they had a slight hope of leaving this place. Eye of the Divine Soul. I didn't expect it to be the Eye of the Divine Soul. Great venerable Yinshe and great demonic god Di Tian were both shocked as they looked at Li Lingtian with a grave expression. Li Lingtian was the reincarnation of Nine-Yang Saint Lord. His identity was powerful and heaven-defying. He also had heaven-defying means, and now, he had the eye of the divine soul to restrain Great Venerable Insher's trump card. This situation was indeed not good. Only one of us can leave this place. Let's attack together. It doesn't matter whether you die early or late. However, it's impossible for you to obtain my talent. You'd better not dream about it. Li Lingtian circulated his cultivation technique as he glared at Di Tian coldly. He began to calculate in his heart. At this moment, his situation was not good. Although the cultivation of the other two had fallen, they were still at the 6th or 7th sky of the martial saint realm. Di Tian was a devil expert, while Great Sovereign Insher was even more mysterious and terrifying. He cultivated a human cultivation technique, but he controlled the vicious Insher demonic creature. After thinking for a long time, he decided who to start with. Di Tian had the demon suppression will on his head, so he definitely could not leave. Great Venerable Insher was in the cage, so he could not leave the cage either. As long as the two of them removed Di Tian, the demon suppression will's restriction would descend on Great Venerable Insher. If he dealt with Great Venerable Insher first, the situation would be bad. After all, Great Demonic God Di Tian was still on the side and was a huge threat. Therefore, only by eliminating Di Tian could he deal with Great Venerable Insher in peace. Thinking of this, the true essence in his entire body turned into demonic chi, and monstrous demonic chi soared into the sky. Immediately, the entire abyss was filled with dense demonic chi, and this demonic chi was extremely pure. True devil chi plus saint devil chi was extremely terrifying. Qing Wu had given him the true devil chi of her clone, so he almost possessed the devil chi of Qing Wu's clone. In this way, his devil chi cultivation was several times stronger than his Jin Yuan. Demons? That's impossible. I just cultivated a MO skill. What a terrifying demonic chi. The few martial saint powerhouses were shocked when they saw Li Lingtian unleashing his demonic technique. Li Lingtian was a human powerhouse, but he had mastered the devil technique. Even so, he was afraid. However, he soon realized that Li Lingtian was just like the other fiendish cultivator powerhouses. He had only cultivated the fiendish skill. Furthermore, Li Lingtian was using the fiendish skill to fight against the most powerful Asmodean lord of the Asmodeans. Naturally, he was still a human. Li Lingtian cast the Eye of the Divine Soul. The 3 exquisite blood-red lotus runes on his glabella turned him into a demonic figure. True devil chi fused with saint devil chi. The great demonic god Di Tian was shocked as he watched Li Lingtian's demonic skill. His expression changed continuously. True devil chi was not fake at all. He was the strongest devil lord of the devil race, the lord of all devils. Naturally, he cultivated true devil chi, which was also a symbol of the orthodox bloodline of the devil royal family. The young man in front of him was a human, but he had mastered the cultivation technique of the demon race. Moreover, there was a trace of holy demon chi within the true demon chi. Naturally, it was shocking to see such a heaven-defying legend appear on Li Lingtian. At the same time, Li Lingtian's fingers on his left hand moved and a strange-shaped weapon appeared. The weapon was pitch black and shone with a brilliant light, giving off a destructive and evil aura. Li Lingtian looked at the devil blade in his hand with a serious expression. There was a hint of a smile on his face, and the evil smirk at the corner of his mouth was frightening. The shocking demonic might enhance Li Lingtian's demonic chi to become purer and more terrifying. Instantly, even a martial saint powerhouse felt a sense of destruction. It was as if he was on the verge of death. I want to see how long you can last in front of me. As the great demonic god of the demon race, you should have never seen this before, right? Heavenly demon region. Divine magic dragon blade. The evil smile on Li Lingtian's lips grew wider. Coupled with the demonic chi and his demonic aura, he looked like a terrifying demon god. After saying that, a pressure appeared from his body. This pressure came from him and formed a 5-meter-wide domain around him. Within these 5 meters, he was the master of this place. At the same time, the heavenly demon region carried a terrifying demonic might and directly suppressed the opponent's aura. After his cultivation base had improved, the strength of the heavenly demon region had become even more terrifying. After obtaining Qing Wu's true demon qi, he had not used any demonic techniques. Now, the power he displayed was earth-shattering. After unleashing the heavenly demon domain, he slowly raised the Saint Magic Dragon Blade in his hand. His eyes were filled with coldness and cruelty. The divine magic dragon blade flashed with a brilliant light, giving off an aura of death. At this moment, Great Venerable Inshur did not have anything to say. He was only shocked and afraid. However, the great demonic god Di Tian was stunned. His eyes were dull, and his face was filled with excitement. Heavenly Devil Region. Divine Magic Dragon Blade. Saint Devil Qi. You should have obtained the legendary Holy Demon's true understanding and the Holy Demon ring in your hand, right? Great demonic god Di Tian's eyes flashed with a glint and there was a strange expression in them. Li Lingtian could see it clearly but he did not know what it meant. You're right. You can die now. Li Lingtian's eyes were emotionless as demonic qi surged from his body. The Holy Demon ring's Holy Demon qi surged toward his right hand and he swung the Holy Demon Dragon Blade in an instant. A beam of light disappeared, but the space shattered inch by inch. The demon suppressing will also began to tremble, as though it could not suppress great demon god Di Tian. Let's see how powerful your heavenly demon domain is. God-slaying finger. When Great Venerable Inshur saw Li Lingtian attacking Di Tian, he knew that things were not looking good. This was because Li Lingtian was using the Devil Tribe's powerful cultivation techniques and treasures, as well as the Heaven Demon Territory's heaven-defying technique. Although the great demonic god Di Tian was powerful, his cultivation base had been depleted after millions of years. If this strike landed, Di Tian would definitely be injured. If Di Tian was injured, he wouldn't have any good days left. His hands were restrained, but a strange finger force suddenly condensed from the space behind him. The finger force was sinister and terrifying, containing a burning aura. Its might caused the few martial saints to tremble. Di Tian was also shocked. He didn't expect that Great Sovereign Inshur would actually waste his cultivation base to execute this attack. As he watched the brilliant Saint Devil Dragon Blade attack, the life force in his entire body burned, and a destructive demonic might erupted. He waved his hands, and two pitch-black and pure demonic qi appeared. Li Lingtian was shocked. He did not expect Di Tian to reach the 9th heavenly layer of the martial saint realm at such a crucial moment. His heart trembled. Even if he had the heavenly devil region and the Saint Devil Dragon Blade, he didn't have the slightest confidence in blocking Di Tian's devilish qi attack. However, none of the experts expected that one of the two destructive demonic qi would hit the god-slaying finger, and the other would hit the space between Great Venerable Inshur's eyebrows. Tisk! Tisk! Pft! Pft! There were two soft sounds. The sound of destructive attacks hitting each other. The attack of the Saint Devil Dragon Blade struck the center of Di Tian's brows. The brilliant light that appeared from the Devil Blade directly entered Great Demonic God Di Tian's mind. The Great Demonic God Di Tian's body swayed as his life force slowly disappeared. At the same time, the attack of the god-slaying finger was also offset by the pure demonic qi. Moreover, another demonic qi hit Great Venerable Inshur's glabella. Great Venerable Inshur did not expect his companion of millions of years to actually attack him at this time. He was not prepared at all. Moreover, Di Tian's cultivation was several times higher than his at this moment, so he did not have the slightest chance to resist. Both of them spat out a mouthful of blood. Why? Great Venerable Inshur felt the life force in his body drain away, and he was extremely shocked. Moreover, the pure devil qi was connected to the wound on his chest that Li Lingtian had started attacking. The speed of his death was even faster. He stared at the great demonic god Di Tian in confusion, not understanding why Di Tian would turn his back on him for the sake of an unfamiliar human. Had it not been for the great demonic god Di Tian's counterattack, Li Lingtian would have been killed by his finger. Chapter 612, Spiritual Herbal Gardens, 1, because of Qinggu. Because he controls the Saint Devil Qi and the treasures of the devil race. I don't have to worry anymore. I'm free. The great demonic god Di Tian looked at Great Venerable Yinshi as a faint smile appeared on his face. Great Venerable Yinshi and Li Lingtian understood everything in those two simple sentences. Only a few martial saint powerhouses did not know what great demonic god Di Tian was talking about. Damn it! Great Venerable Yinshi's face was filled with anger, but he did not have any strength at all. His vitality was also rapidly flowing away. Her eyes were filled with unwillingness, but she was helpless as she glared at Li Lingtian. When you used your true devil Qi, I noticed Qing Wu's aura. Therefore, I didn't plan to attack you. You don't have to feel guilty. In this world, the strong are respected. Don't let Qingwu down. Die. The great demonic god Di Tian looked at Li Lingtian and spoke in a serious tone. The life force in his body was rapidly draining away, and he no longer had any strength left. In addition, the demon suppression will radiated a destructive energy that was rapidly destroying Di Tian's life force. As he spoke, Di Tian's eyes gleamed with sharpness as a destructive devil might exploded forth. The few martial saints who were being suppressed had looks of terror in their eyes. A world-destroying pressure bore down on them. This was the devil might that great demonic god Di Tian had unleashed by burning his life force. Ah! Ah! Arg! A few martial saint realm experts screamed as they instantly exploded into a bloody mist. They had completely lost their vitality. When Longda and the other two saw this, their hearts were still trembling. Martial saints did not resist at all. They were directly crushed to death by the pressure of an expert. They were even less of a threat. They knew that if it were not for Li Lingtian, these fallen martial saints would have ended up like them. Saint Demon Sky, Heavenly Demon Saint, life and death are on the line. Saint Demon Dragon Blade's heart is in Saint Demon Hell. After the great demonic god Di Tian used the last of his life force to kill the few martial saints, his life force was already at the end. After saying a few inexplicable words, his life force disappeared and his entire person slowly turned into nothingness. However, a faint smile appeared on his face, a smile of relief. Boom! Just as the great demonic god Di Tian was about to fall, the demon suppression will's shocking pressure was hurled toward Li Lingtian. As Li Lingtian carried a shocking holy demon aura, he became the target of the demon suppression will's attack. Pfft! Caught off guard, Li Lingtian's body was thrown into the air before he fell to the ground. Li Lingtian's heart turned ashen as he watched the destructive demon suppressing will approach him. He activated his cultivation technique and quickly cast the Heaven and Earth reincarnation technique. The demonic qi in his body had also disappeared. Boom! However, even though he had converted his true essence, the demon-suppressing wheel's attack did not come back. It did not stop at all as it continued to bombard Li Lingtian. With a loud explosion, Li Lingtian's body was thrown out. Finally, he fell to the edge of the abyss. He spat out a mouthful of blood and used his body to block the demon suppression will's attack. The thrilling scene just now was shocking. After the great demonic god Di Tian's death, the pressure disappeared and the heavenly demon king saw Li Lingtian being attacked. The first thing he did was to block Li Lingtian's path and throw him away. He had suffered a devastating blow. With a muffled sound, the demon suppression will fell to the ground. The abyss fell silent. Soon, the silence was broken. Longda came to Li Lingtian's side while Martial Saint Yunhao came before the heavenly demon king to protect him with her primordial qi. Li Lingtian adjusted his breathing slightly before he opened his eyes and looked at the heavenly monster king. The heavenly demon king's aura gradually stabilized. The demon suppression will's destructive attack had weakened when Li Lingtian's demonic aura vanished. Otherwise, Heaven Demon King would have died long ago. Fortunately, Heaven Demon King was fine. He only had a slight shock and would be fine after recuperating for a period of time. Following that, Li Lingtian walked toward great demonic god Di Tian and great venerable Yinshi before Di Tian disappeared. Great Sovereign Inshur was killed by Di Tian's attack, but his body was still fine. He stood stiffly in the cage with two thin threads trapping him inside. Li Ling Tian inspected the car. The two threads were connected to Great Venerable Inshur's lifeblood and could not be moved at all. Furthermore, there were countless arrays on them. The two super mighty figures didn't leave anything behind because everything they had was taken away when they were suppressed. Next, Li Ling Tian put away the demon suppression wheel and refined it before storing it into the divine dragon ring. This time around, the few martial saints were wronged. They didn't even have the slightest resistance and were killed by Di Tian. Naturally, Li Ling Tian knew that Di Tian was giving him a way out so that he would not leave these martial saints behind to cause trouble for Li Ling Tian. Hence, he burned his life force to destroy a few of the martial saint powerhouses in the final blow. Let's go. After Li Ling Tian had collected the powerhouse's storage pouches, he walked forward and entered through the passage he came from. When they came, there were dozens of experts, but when they left, there were only a few of them. They entered the darkness again. The passage was extremely quiet. But now, the divine consciousness in the passageway could extend even further. This was also the reason why Great Venerable Inshur and Great Demonic God Di Tian had fallen. When they passed by the demons, they were still squirming, but they were not as active as before. After an unknown period of time, Li Ling Tian and the others arrived at the place where they had come down. Based on their perception with their divine consciousness, they could tell that this place was an array altar. If they wanted to go up, they could only teleport from the array altar. However, it was extremely difficult to figure out the runes on the array altar in the pitch-black space. You guys rest for a while. I'll activate the array formation of this array altar. Li Ling Tian told Long De and the other two before he sat down cross-legged and began to examine the runes on the array altar with his divine consciousness. In the darkness, he couldn't even see above. Even if he used flames, he couldn't see clearly. Swoosh, swoosh. 5 days had passed. Li Ling Tian had been fumbling around with the runes on the array altar and finally understood them. This array formation was actually a rare god-demon array. It was formed by the fusion of powerful spiritual qi and demonic qi. In order to break this array formation, one must have demonic qi and spiritual qi. If there was only one kind of aura when the array was removed, then the expert who broke the array would suffer a backlash. Li Lingtian's heart trembled when he realized this. Fortunately, he had 2 auras. Otherwise, other array masters would only be courting death if they came. He waved his hands continuously, casting true essence and demonic qi spells. The 2 auras were constantly exchanging. Although it was a little awkward, there was no gap between them due to Li Lingtian's speed. Boom! At this moment, a ray of light was emitted from the array altar. Instantly, the entire dark space was lit up, and everything in front of him appeared clearly. Before Li Lingtian and the others could take a look, they were sucked away by a powerful suction force. The 4 of them entered the light and floated up, quickly teleporting to other places. In the light, Li Lingtian noticed that the aura within the light was getting denser. This aura was spirit qi. The more time passed, the denser the spirit qi became. Moreover, there was spirit pressure. Li Lingtian's face relaxed when he felt the spirit pressure. This was because spirit pressure could only be felt outside. This spirit pressure was also very familiar. In other words, as long as he was teleported out, he would be able to reach the vicinity of the spiritual energy pillar. Swoosh! However, at this moment, something unexpected happened. The light suddenly broke, as if it had been divided. The teleportation also stopped, and the 4 of them fell down. He fell down fiercely, and no one knew where he was going. Li Lingtian was shocked to death when he encountered such a situation. He was most afraid of encountering problems during teleportation because it was not something a warrior could control. Even when crossing worlds, there would be accidents. Otherwise, his cultivation would have fallen due to the cross-world formation last time. Space Pennant. When he realized that the spatial teleportation was broken, Li Lingtian instinctively protected his mind and took out the spatial banner. However, when he took out the spatial banner, he was already on solid ground. A perfect fairyland appeared in his eyes, a seven-colored world. Spiritual energy was everywhere, and a refreshing smell entered his nose. The four of them landed and looked around. Not only were they not teleported to an unknown black hole, but they were also teleported to a world filled with birds and flowers. Spiritual herbal gardens. A huge stone tablet appeared in their line of sight. When they saw the stone tablet, the four of them were stunned. He didn't expect that there would be a problem during the teleportation and that he would actually come to the spiritual herbal gardens. This kind of thing was simply unbelievable. Li Lingtian had seen many strange things, but this was his first time encountering one. After calming himself down, he began to look around. This place was a medicinal garden with a radius of 100 miles. It was filled with precious medicinal herbs that were over 10,000 years old, and there were also natural treasures that were over 100,000 years old and 1,000,000 years old. Li Lingtian was thoroughly tempted by the herbs. Herbs that were 100,000 years old and 1,000,000 years old were practically extinct in the divine Martial continent. He did not expect that there would be so many of them in this place. I didn't expect to come to the spiritual herbal gardens. Marshal Saint Yunhao looked at the spiritual herbal gardens in excitement and shock. He was excited that Li Lingtian would be able to refine countless precious elixirs with these herbs. He was shocked that the bottomless abyss had yet to end before he entered the spiritual herbal gardens. Moreover, entering the herb garden directly was too strange. It's no wonder the spiritual herbal gardens and the bottomless abyss were only separated by a few months. So there's a certain connection between them. They must have been roped in by a formation or some other reason when the two positions appeared. Moreover, the two locations are very close to each other. We accidentally came to this place. Long De also started to analyze. The more he thought about it, the more excited he became. This time, he didn't have to compete with other experts to take the herbs away from the spiritual herbal gardens. P.S. I recommend my good friend Bayue's urban god work, City Overlord. Just from the name, you can tell that there is no limit to the power of fantasy. It should also have no moral integrity. You are welcome to try it. Chapter 613, Leave. 1. Don't touch these herbs. Each herb has its own attributes. Leave this to me. You guys go and find a way to leave. Li Lingtian saw Long De and the rest's happy faces, but he quickly stopped them when he saw that they were about to pick the herbs. Not just any medicinal herb could be casually plucked, because these medicinal herbs had attributes. Moreover, some precious medicinal herbs often had a lot of details. If they were not careful, the spirituality of these medicinal herbs would disappear. To an alchemist, these were no longer techniques. We will do it now. Long De replied respectfully. Knowing that Li Lingtian was particular about herbs, he dared not touch them. After that, he walked away with Yunhao. In this place, other than the spirit herb garden, there were also some passages. Moreover, the other places were filled with endless colorful spiritual qi. It was impossible to see through the spiritual qi. Needless to say, this colorful spiritual energy was a restriction and also the edge of the spiritual herb garden. If he wanted to find a way out, he could only look for it through those passages. After Long De and Marshal Saint Yunhao left, Heavenly Monster King was meditating in the spirit herb garden to heal his injuries. Li Lingtian was extremely excited as he looked at the spiritual herbal gardens. However, he didn't start to collect the herbs. Instead, he carefully sized up the spiritual herbal gardens. The formation of the spiritual herbal gardens was mainly dependent on the heaven-defying spiritual energy and countless precious medicinal herbs. Only when the spiritual energy was rich could some precious medicinal herbs appear. These medicinal herbs were easily tens of thousands of years old, hundreds of thousands of years old, or even millions of years old. A million-year-old medicinal herb was a truly heaven-defying item. Even if it was not refined into a pill, it could be directly consumed to increase one's cultivation. This was because these medicinal herbs were heaven-defying in nature. Otherwise, they would not have been able to live for more than 1,000,000 years. Ordinary medicinal herbs, even if their spiritual chi was dense, would wither and turn into soil at the limit of their lifespan. The appearance of a spiritual herb garden in this place must have something to do with the spiritual chi outside. Outside was a world of spiritual energy pillars. There were also divine crystals and spirit stone pillars. Naturally, the spiritual energy was dense. From the looks of it, the spiritual energy outside must have belonged to True Eye Great Venerable Inshur and Great Demonic God Di Tian. These two powerful existences were both demons. Using a spirit weapon to suppress them was the best thing to do. However, the expert behind the suppression of the two mighty figures was not simple. He actually had such a big hand. Even the entire divine martial continent might not have such wealth. Moreover, those spirit stone pillars and divine crystals were not something that could be measured by wealth at all. The formation of the spiritual herbal gardens was related to the bottomless abyss. The two locations were actually together. Now that the time was also together, it was naturally clear at a glance. However, he was not a rash person. He did not dare to act rashly in case of any accidents. He looked at the grade and age of the medicinal herbs while searching for anything strange here. After searching for a full 2 hours, he still did not find the slightest thing. With that, Li Lingtian was relieved. He activated the divine dragon ring with his consciousness and quickly stored the herbs and soil into the ring. These medicinal herbs were categorized according to their age and rarity. Even though Li Lingtian was a martial emperor powerhouse, it took him more than half an hour to collect the herbs. Half an hour later, this place was no longer a spirit herb garden, but a barren land without any flowers or plants. Not even a single blade of grass could be seen. The dense spiritual energy also disappeared continuously. Phew! The sky shook as if it had sensed the disappearance of the spiritual herbal gardens. Li Lingtian smiled bitterly when he saw this. He had never expected such a situation to occur. He had looked around but he did not notice anything. Only in the end would such a thing happen. Young master. There's a formation ahead, a spiritual formation. At this moment, Longde and Marshal Saint Yunhao had also rushed back. They looked at the scene and understood what was going on. At the same time, they looked at the sky and their expressions changed. Spiritual array. Let's go and take a look. Li Lingtian glanced at the meditating heavenly demon king before he flashed and quickly flew into the distance. Marshal Saint Yunhao also woke up the heavenly demon king and followed Li Lingtian. Soon, Li Lingtian stopped in front of a huge array altar. The array altar was filled with terrifying spiritual energy, and it even carried supreme spiritual pressure. This spiritual pressure was not bad. It was similar to the spiritual pressure of the spiritual pillar above the bottomless abyss. Move aside, let me try. Li Lingtian waved his hand and spoke to Marshal Saint Yunhao and the other two behind him. Then, a golden light flashed between his eyebrows and the divine array appeared in front of him. The divine array emitted a faint golden light and a mysterious ancient aura. Quick! He waved his 10 fingers and mysterious spells appeared in the air. As the spells appeared, the golden light on the divine array became even stronger. At the same time, the huge array altar in front of him seemed to have sensed the divine array diagram. It trembled slightly and spiritual chi began to fluctuate. Longde and the other two watched Li Lingtian's magic art from behind with admiration on their faces. However, they dared not disturb Li Lingtian at this moment. This was because they knew that once it was interrupted, the spell would be broken and Li Lingtian would suffer a backlash. Perhaps, the array altar would undergo some shocking changes. The three of them did not dare to breathe too loudly as they watched Li Lingtian's actions. After an unknown period of time, the sky began to shake. Longde and the other two were anxious but they did not dare to show it so as not to affect Li Lingtian's ability to break the array. Crash! At this moment, the golden light on the divine array diagram expanded and turned into a pillar of light that poured down on the array altar. Instantly, the spiritual chi and spiritual pressure on the array altar fused with the golden light, emitting a seven-colored light. This light was the colorful world outside. "Let's go!" Li Lingtian's soft shout jolted Long De and the other two awake. In a flash, they entered the colorful radiance. When Long De and the other two entered, the light quickly disappeared. The four of them disappeared together, as if everything was an illusion. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Boom. 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 Li Lingtian and the rest were elated as their eyes lit up. This was because they had already left the spirit herb garden and arrived at the spirit chi pillar. However, before they could finish their joy, they were shocked. Spirit pressure came crashing down and a shocking amount of spirit chi poured down on Li Lingtian and the others. Divine Dragon Ring, activate. Li Lingtian was shocked and pleasantly surprised when he noticed the overwhelming spirit pressure and spirit chi. He activated the Divine Dragon Ring with his divine consciousness. He did not want to take away the spiritual energy in this place, but in the face of the spiritual energy attack, he could only let nature take its course. Otherwise, he would be killed by the spiritual energy pressure here. The shocking spirit chi and spirit pressure quickly reached Li Lingtian, but the destructive spirit chi was absorbed by the Divine Dragon Ring. Although Li Lingtian did not suffer a direct attack from the spirit chi, he knew that the destructive spirit pressure was enough to cause him to feel the pain of destruction. However, he could only endure it at this moment. Spirit chi, spirit pressure, divine crystals, spirit chi pillars, spirit stone pillars, all of them quickly entered the Divine Dragon Ring. Li Lingtian's eyes were filled with shock and he could not react. On the other hand, Long De and the others were filled with surprise. This was because the spiritual chi and divine crystals were enough for them to cultivate for dozens of lifetimes. Pfft! Finally, everything was sucked dry by the Divine Dragon Ring. Li Lingtian was bounced back and spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was deathly pale, but a faint smile remained on his face. Crash! Just as the spiritual energy disappeared, the sky shattered, and a hole appeared. The hole was originally only 100 meters wide, and the shocking seawater poured down like a galaxy. Then, the cave entrance collapsed like the Yellow River. The entire sky was shattered, and the shocking and destructive seawater bombarded down. Water Dao intent. Li Lingtian watched as the seawater poured down from the sky. With such power, even a martial saint or martial god might be killed. Seeing this situation, he quickly put Long De and the other two into the Divine Dragon Ring, and with a thought, he displayed the will of the great path of water. His entire body disappeared, as if he had evaporated. Boom! With a shocking explosion, the destructive water bombarded down, and the earth disappeared. Everything disappeared. The entire island was completely submerged by the seawater falling from the sky, and all the residents were reduced to nothingness. After an unknown period of time, Li Lingtian surfaced with a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. His face was pale and powerless. In his line of sight, he could see an endless sea without any signs of life. Sacrifice. He activated the Divine Dragon Ring with his divine sense, and Long and the others appeared. The three of them fell into the sea and became drenched. Bring out the flying ship and fly for a while. Let's see what this place is. Li Lingtian instructed Long De as he had just cast the will of the water to dodge the destructive water attack. However, after he had transformed into the will of the great path of water, he had completely fused into the sea. He did not know the direction at all, so he did not even know where he was now. Swoosh! The flying ship was summoned, and the few of them boarded it. Following that, the spacecraft swiftly headed in a certain direction. Li Lingtian sat in his room and meditated. He had consumed too much energy earlier and he was also injured. Hence, he needed to recuperate first. After 2 hours, Li Lingtian had finished regulating his breathing. Although he was fine, it would still take a few days for his injuries to fully recover. After he stopped, Long De walked up. Young master, we have already left the bottomless abyss. This sea area is the boundless sea area. It's just that we still need half a month to return to Nandu County. After long debate, he explained the situation in front of him. He was also extremely shocked. He never thought that they would come out of the bottomless abyss just like that. Although it was a little far from Nandu County, he had safely left the bottomless abyss and obtained countless benefits. P.S. I recommend the work of the great city god, Han Tang Feng Yu, the best little farmer. The life of the YYYY is all in it. Everyone, prepare your own toilet paper. Chapter 614, Qing Xian Country Situation. It's indeed magical. Let's return to Nandu County first. Li Lingtian nodded. He was extremely curious about what had happened earlier. After all, they had only flown for a few months in the bottomless abyss, but after coming out, they had come to the boundless sea. From the looks of it, they seemed to be making no progress at all. It was indeed mysterious for such a magical thing to happen. However, they had finally left the bottomless abyss and obtained the herbs from the spiritual herbal gardens as well as some treasures. The risk this time was worth it. Soon after, Li Lingtian called Tang Qingyue and the others out. Long De and the others were in charge of the flight. Naturally, Li Lingtian was used to asking questions about Tang Qingyue and the others after they came out. He also liked this feeling. After all, these girls were his wives or relatives. Big brother Ling Tian, where are we? Xianyuan Yingying was the first to ask. Her small face was filled with doubt, but her eyes were still mischievous and cute. Li Lingtian was in a good mood when he saw this. He has already left the bottomless abyss and arrived at the boundless sea. Li Lingtian recounted everything that happened after they entered the bottomless abyss. All the girls were shocked and frightened at the same time. He was also curious and surprised, but more than that, he was worried. Fortunately, Li Lingtian had left safely. They were overjoyed to see him safe and sound. I didn't expect that there would actually be two supreme characters in the bottomless abyss. Luckily, you used your devil art first. If not, Di Tian wouldn't have helped you and would have joined forces to kill you. Huangfu Yuyen was glad to hear Li Lingtian's words. Li Lingtian had been scheming for a long time, but he had managed to hit the nail on the head and avoided this calamity. I can't enter the spiritual herbal gardens anymore. I wonder what they will think when they enter and find it empty. Tang Zi was amused when she thought that Li Lingtian would move the spiritual herbal gardens away. This was Li Lingtian's usual style. Whenever he came across something he needed, he would take it all with him, leaving nothing behind, not even the soil. I naturally won't go to the spiritual herbal gardens. However, we should take advantage of this period of time to properly adjust ourselves, lest we run out of time after the war begins. Li Lingtian spoke in a serious tone. Once the war broke out in Nandu County, the entire commandery would be at war, and so would the other countries. Naturally, the conflict between the kingdoms would be even more intense. As long as the fuse was lit, the war of the entire Black Continent would begin. When the time came, the 100,000 commanderies would fight for supremacy, the kingdoms would fight for hegemony, and the empires would fight for supremacy. Li Lingtian felt his blood boil at the thought of this. Even if he was a martial artist, he could feel his blood boiling. He was a man, and all men liked hot-blooded battlefields. War was also for power and more cultivation resources, so that they could become more powerful. Power also represented strength, so he wanted to build a powerful force. Ling Tian, take a rest first. Tang Qingyue said gently and left the room. The other girls left the room as well, leaving Li Lingtian alone to rest. Even though it was fine for a warrior to not sleep, they were still humans after all. They would get tired too. Tang Qingyue and the rest allowed Li Lingtian to rest and recover. Li Lingtian smiled as he watched the girls leave. He then meditated to regulate his breathing before lying down on his bed to sleep. He slept for 2 days, and no one came to disturb him. On the third day, Tang Qingyue and the rest came to visit Li Lingtian after seeing him wake up. With a group of peerless girls by his side, he was naturally in a good mood. After the dangerous moment passed, he returned to his carefree days. He cultivated and enjoyed life at the same time. There were still some treasures that needed to be dealt with. However, these treasures did not need to be sold for spirit stones. They could be used by the army below to strengthen their own army and sweep the world. Following that, Li Lingtian began to discuss with Tang Qingyue and the rest about the current situation in Qingxian. Although they were betting on girls, they were extremely smart and understood everything. Moreover, he would remind him from time to time so that he would not make any big mistakes in his decisions. This way, he would not be able to survive. Qingxian is nothing. We can use the power of Qingxian to capture all the commanderies and gather their strength together. With the strength of the outside world, we can start to devour the surrounding countries and slowly strengthen Qingxian. Although the other countries will know, this is inevitable. Huangfu Yuyan spoke slowly, analyzing the situation before her, and then sharing her thoughts and plans. Li Lingtian and the other girls nodded as they listened. At the same time they were paying attention to some of the key points in Huangfu Yuyan's plan. They wanted to see if there were any mistakes in her principles and if they could be changed. The method that Yu Yan mentioned is steady and generous. It's also the simplest and most reliable method. After we go back, we will quickly clean up the commanderies under Qingxian and gather the powerful forces in our hands. Li Lingtian smiled in satisfaction. Among the women, Huangfu Yuyan was not the prettiest but she was experienced. Coupled with her elegance, she was not inferior to the other girls. He agreed with her analysis. After all, they had no support in the Black Continent, nor did they have any powerful forces. He could only rely on himself to slowly gather power, but he had a huge advantage. That was medicinal pills. By relying on medicinal pills, one could condense shocking power. Although the strong had their own country, they could not live without pills. Whoever gave them pills and resources, they would help them. Subsequently, Li Lingtian and the rest spent the night on the spaceship. The flying ship quickly flew towards Nandu County. After 10 days, they finally returned to Nandu County. The first thing Chu Tianlan did upon returning to Nandu County was to visit Li Lingtian at the Li residence. Greetings, young master. Congratulations on your safe return. Chu Tianlan bowed respectfully. She was extremely shocked because the news of her entering the bottomless abyss in the boundless sea had been spread back. When he received this news, he was extremely shocked. Although he understood that there was a purpose for using the heaven and earth 5 elements formation, he was still shocked. However, they did not expect Li Lingtian to be so bold as to rob all the powerhouses. Furthermore, he had even killed a martial saint powerhouse in one move. Such cultivation and strength could only be described as terrifying. This time, they did not see any powerhouses returning. Only Li Lingtian and the others had returned. They were afraid but they dared not imagine it. Yes. Did anything happen in Nandu County during this period of time? Li Lingtian nodded. He sat on the main seat with a calm expression on his face. He merely nodded at Chu Tianlan's salutation. If the other Nandu County experts saw this, their jaws would drop. However, he was still concerned about the strength of Nandu Prefecture. He wanted these forces to compete with other commanderies and slowly devour other commanderies and countries. Nothing happened in Nandu County. However, it seems like the Tian Luo Kingdom has gathered the forces and armies of the other kingdoms to attack the Qingxian Kingdom. Chu Tianlan replied respectfully upon hearing Li Lingtian's question. This was what he had to report to Li Lingtian and it was also the most urgent matter. At this time, Nandu County naturally had to help Qingxian. However, Qingxian was not a match for Tianluo Kingdom and the other kingdoms. Naturally, Nandu County's fate was not so good. It might just vanish into thin air. Now that Li Lingtian had returned safely, it was up to Li Lingtian to make the decision. He did not pay any attention to it. Oh, it's just a few small countries. They can't cause any big waves. Gather all the forces and listen to my arrangements. Swallow all the commanderies in Qingxian. You don't have to worry about Qingxian. Li Lingtian replied calmly. It was just a few countries and they were not considered heaven-defying. If it was in the past, they wouldn't dare to be careless. After all, Qingxian was the size of Azure continent. The combined strength of several countries was equivalent to the size of Azure continent. Naturally, Qingxian would not be able to defend against such a powerful force. However, with Li Lingtian around, Qingxian would not be destroyed. No matter how powerful a country was, as long as they killed their ultimate powerhouse, they would be able to wipe out the morale of the entire country. This subordinate understands. Young master, have the others who entered the bottomless abyss returned? Also, about the spiritual herbal gardens. It seems like there are more experts planning to enter the spiritual herbal gardens this time. Chu Tianlan probed inside. After she asked, her heart began to tremble as she was worried that she would anger Li Lingtian. They all died. Don't worry about the spiritual herbal gardens. Let them do whatever they want. Li Lingtian looked at Chu Tianlan with a sharp gaze before he retracted his gaze and spoke indifferently. This gaze almost made Chu Tianlan break down. It was as if she had fallen into the depths of hell. This subordinate will obey. If young master does not have any instructions, this subordinate will take his leave first. Chu Tianlan's back was already drenched, and her face was pale. Seeing that Li Lingtian did not say anything, he excused himself. This is for you. Li Lingtian took a glance at Chu Tianlan before he retrieved a superior saint weapon from the divine dragon ring. These sacred artifacts were good to begin with, but Li Lingtian was no longer interested in them. He would not even give them to Tang Qingyue and the others because it would take up too much time for them to refine the sacred artifacts. If he encountered a divine artifact in the future and had to refine it again, it wouldn't count. Instead of that, it would be better to not use these divine artifacts and use them when he had a divine artifact. Moreover, these saint weapons were also obtained from the storage bags of those martial saints. Chu Tianlan followed him and was considered a subordinate. Naturally, she wouldn't let him be too shabby. Thank you for your gift, young master. Chu Tianlan was excited when she saw Li Lingtian tossing the superior saint weapon at her. He quickly thanked Li Lingtian respectfully. He did not expect Li Lingtian to give him such a sacred artifact. Naturally, he was overjoyed and left the Li residence with the sacred artifact. P.S. I recommend Miracle's urban fantasy work Super Soldier King in Huadu, welcome to appreciate. Chapter 615, Establishing a Force. Countless experts gathered in Nandu County. They were all waiting for the spirit herbal gardens to open. They were worried that Li Lingtian would reappear after the incident where countless powerhouses obtained the bottomless abyss. This was because Li Lingtian was too terrifying. Even if there were people who were not afraid of Li Lingtian, they did not want to go against him. After all, this Li Lingtian was extremely terrifying and he was also a super divine alchemist. Naturally, no one was willing to cause trouble for him. They hoped that Li Lingtian would not show up at the spirit herbal gardens. If there was another robbery, wouldn't he die of grievance? Fortunately, Li Lingtian did not show up. Naturally, it was what they wanted to see most. However, the spiritual herbal gardens had not been opened, which shocked all the experts. After waiting for a whole month, the spiritual herbal gardens still did not open. Gradually, all the experts left Nandu County, but there were still many experts who continued to wait. The Array Dao master who calculated that the spiritual herbal gardens and the bottomless abyss would open in a year was scolded by countless experts until he was covered in bruises. Naturally, they didn't know that the spiritual herbal gardens had long disappeared and that they had all been taken away. The person leading the spirit herbal gardens was precisely the person they were afraid of, Li Lingtian. If they knew that Li Lingtian had taken the spiritual herbal gardens away, they might have some thoughts or break down. During this period of time, Li Lingtian had been refining elixirs in the Li residence. Every time he refined pills, he would get the medicinal herbs from the storage bags of other experts. Such medicinal herbs were usually wasted to refine low-grade pills. However, even if it was a low-grade medicinal pill, he would still refine a peerless medicinal pill. Days passed, and the pills in his hands piled up. The Tier 1 Vitality Pill and the Tier 5 Azure Yang Pill were used by Li Lingtian as practice. The real pills he refined were the Dust Cleansing Pill and the Great Rejuvenating Pill. As for the Divine Feather Pill that the demonic beasts consumed, the Great Cyclic Pellet had long been refined into a peerless grade variant, and the Divine Feather Pill was also a peerless grade. Sometimes, even he himself was not sure whether the pills he refined were stronger in terms of alchemy skills, the Heaven and Earth Creation Cauldron, or the Divine Dragon Cauldron. This was because the medicinal pills refined every time were all peerless existences. The Heaven and Earth Creation Cauldron was extremely magical. After the Heaven and Earth Creation Cauldron entered the Shinnon Cauldron, no one knew what the Heaven and Earth Creation Cauldron and Shinnon Cauldron were. He couldn't tell if this cauldron was the Shinnon Cauldron or the Heaven and Earth Creation Cauldron. Moreover, there were some secret origins between the two. Only after figuring out the origins of the two could he determine whether it was the Creation Cauldron or the Shinnon Cauldron. The alchemy technique was an ancient alchemy technique, the alchemy cauldron was the Shinnon Cauldron and the Heaven and Earth Creation Cauldron, and the pill formula was a magical ancient recipe. When all these were combined, it really was not that difficult to refine a peerless pill. Boom! With a shocking explosion, a stream of spiritual energy soared into the sky. In the Li residence, there would be such a shocking commotion almost every few days. Countless experts in Nandu County were already used to it. However, every time the spiritual energy soared into the sky, it was a time when countless experts were happy and envious. This was because it represented the appearance of a 6th or 7th grade medicinal pill. Moreover, thunder and lightning appeared in the sky from time to time. When they saw this situation, they were extremely shocked because they had attracted a pill tribulation when they were refining pills. The appearance of the pill tribulation meant that the level 6 or 7 medicinal pill was about to mutate. The mutated medicinal pill was miraculous and heaven-defying. It far exceeded the level of the medicinal pill itself and also exceeded the imagination of experts. Just like that, 2 months passed. Moreover, under the development of Marshal Saint Ming Luo and the Heavenly Demon King, the Li Residence's guards were extremely powerful. There were 6 martial saints, more than 200 martial emperors, more than 1,000 martial honors, and more than 5,000 martial monarchs. Such a powerful force could easily sweep across a commandery. Moreover, such legions were extremely united, unlike the legions of commanderies and countries. These powerhouses were basically gathered around the Li residence. As long as Li Lingtian gave the order, they would quickly gather and sweep away the countless powerhouses. More importantly, Li Lingtian gave these powerhouses a combined attack formation and 3 other offensive formations. During a war, millions of troops were often involved in a battle. Hence, a powerful formation was required. As a powerful holy array master, Li Lingtian naturally had to use his army in the formation. The army under him was at least a martial royal realm expert. Generally, there were 49 people per array. There were 9 supreme realm experts in an offensive array, and 9 martial emperor realm experts in an array. Although they could not fight against 100 alone, they could definitely kill experts of the same realm in an instant. Except for Nandu Prefecture, the other commanderies were ready for war. However, the war they were preparing for was to mobilize a powerful army to reinforce Qingxian. However, Li Lingtian knew that it was impossible for these commanderies to suppress all the forces in order to avoid being swallowed up by the remaining commanderies after the victory of the war. On this day, Li Lingtian arrived at the drill ground in Nandu County. The drill ground was 50 miles in radius, but it was extremely quiet at this time. All the soldiers of the Southern Army had to return to their camps. Once they came out, they would be killed. However, in a relatively remote area of the drill ground, nearly 10,000 experts were gathered. Each of these experts was above the martial emperor realm. Each of them was an overlord of a region and was untamed. However, they never expected that these experts would gather here. They were all members of the same army. The neat formation did not dare to look like experts at all. Instead, they were qualified soldiers. There were a total of 3 Fangzheng. The 3 Fangzheng were martial emperors, martial venerables, and martial emperors. The 6 martial saints also stood in front of the experts here, looking extremely respectful. Since dawn, these experts had gathered here, standing motionless and waiting. Until noon, when the scorching sun seemed to scorch the earth, the experts under the scorching sun still did not complain at all. No one dared to circulate their cultivation to resist the scorching sun, and they stood there without looking away. If other experts were to see these people, they would be shocked. Experts who were originally high and mighty should have been respected by tens of thousands of people and enjoyed the cultivation in a fairy-like environment. But now, these people were suffering here, and they did not dare to complain at all. Others naturally did not know how these experts felt. Not only did they not complain, but they were also respectful. This was because the person waiting for him was an extremely terrifying master. He was also a super alchemy saint who could turn the clouds and rain with a flip of his hand. To be able to follow him was definitely the wish of a strong person. At noon, every powerhouse had beads of sweat on their faces, dripping down one by one. However, none of the experts circulated their energy to resist, allowing the scorching sun to burn. Boom! At this moment, a destructive pressure appeared in the sky. The appearance of this pressure made all the experts instinctively want to resist. However, when they wanted to resist, they could not even move their fingers. There was no need to mention martial emperors and martial supremacies, because in front of martial saints, they could not even move their fingers. However, a martial emperor could move even in front of a martial saint. It was just that he could not unleash much of his cultivation. However, this pressure was so powerful that even a martial emperor powerhouse could not move an inch. It was not just them. Even the 6 martial saints felt as if death had descended upon them when faced with this pressure. The destructive pressure imprisoned all the experts. In their hearts, they knew that at this moment, as long as the other party had the slightest killing intent, they would disappear into thin air. As long as you resist, you will disappear. This is my 9 heavens constellation. Here, I am the ruler. You guys still have to broaden your horizons. Don't just focus on strength. In this world, there are heaven-tier divine powers, saint-tier mighty divine powers, and god-tier techniques. He even used the techniques of mighty figures, as well as countless taboos and forbidden spells. They are things that you will never be able to imagine. As soon as the voice fell, the destructive pressure disappeared. Immediately, all the experts relaxed. However, just as he was relaxed, a destructive will of the great path of metal appeared between heaven and earth. The will of the great path of metal was indestructible. All the experts could resist the will of the great path of metal. When he blocked it, the metal will of the great path turned into the will of the great path of water. Softness could overcome hardness, and the resistance of all the experts disappeared. It was as uncomfortable as punching cotton. Just as they were feeling uncomfortable, the will of the great path of fire appeared, followed by the will of the great path of earth and finally the will of the great path of wood. The 5 elements Tao will rotated once, and all the experts seemed to have experienced life and death. His legs trembled, but he did not dare to fall. At the same time, he was shocked and excited because in a few months, all the experts in Nandu County felt the changes in the 5 elements at the same time. They all improved their cultivation and broke through. The reason was found. It was because when an expert broke through, he attracted the will of heaven and earth, and the will of heaven and earth benefited all living beings. Now, they finally understood that the heaven-defying super expert was right in front of them. He was also their master. The expert they had always looked up to and worshipped was actually their master. How could such a thing not shock and excite them? From the descent of the pressure to its disappearance, to the experience of the 5 elements of Tao intent, the entire process seemed to be long, but it really only took a few seconds. In these few seconds, all the experts seemed to have experienced life and death. In his line of sight, a handsome young man walked up the steps of the drill ground step by step. Behind him were 4 experts. Among the 4 powerhouses, one was a martial emperor while the other 3 were martial saints. The 4 of them followed behind the young man respectfully. At that moment, even a fool would know that the young man was the super powerhouse and their master, the holy alchemist, Li Lingtian. This subordinate greets the young lord. All the experts bowed respectfully, their faces filled with excitement and respect. Even though his body was trembling, he didn't dare to show any disrespect. At the same time, there was fear and respect. Get up. Li Lingtian slowly walked up the stairs to his seat and sat down leisurely. He did not look like a powerhouse at all. Instead, he looked lazy, but no one dared to think so. The more it was like this, the more terrifying it was. When an expert acted casually, no one would notice. This way, they would treat a tiger as a sick cat. When that time came, they would not even know how they died. Chapter 6:16, Conquering the World. Thank you, young master. All the experts stood up, their faces pale. If not for their strong willpower, they would have collapsed long ago. This was also the first time they experienced the feeling of ordinary people. Under those circumstances, they could not hold on at all. Moreover, they had experienced the pressure of the 9 heavens, stars, and later experienced the suppression of the 5 Tao wills. It was already incredible that they could endure. Since you have followed me, you have to do things for me. I don't care about anything else. Even if you provoke the martial god, I will block it for you. If you provoke a god, I can also destroy the god. But if you betray me, even a true god can't save you. Similarly, as long as you work hard, I won't mistreat you. At the very least, I won't let you be too trash and embarrass me. Li Lingtian said calmly. There was not the slightest bit of power emanating from his body, just like an ordinary person. However, the 10,000 super experts in front of them all understood that if they treated this young master as an ordinary person, then they could die. We understand. I'm willing to be loyal to young master. I'll do anything for you. If you are disloyal in the slightest, I'm willing to be struck by lightning. My cultivation will fall and I won't be able to improve. I'll be haunted by my inner demons. Nearly 10,000 experts bowed respectfully, looking extremely sincere. At the same time, all the powerhouses were excited because Li Lingtian would never forget them. Even if he forgot about them, he wouldn't embarrass himself. Such an expert naturally wouldn't want some trash subordinates by his side. As long as he and the others worked hard, coupled with the medicinal pills of a saint alchemist, it wouldn't be easy to raise his cultivation. Moreover, it seemed that the young master had made some moves this time. Otherwise, he would not have appeared so easily. Don't talk so beautifully. In the future, use your performance to speak. The Xianzhou continent is in chaos, and the empires and kingdoms are fighting for hegemony. Who does this world belong to? Li Lingtian said calmly. He was surprised by the oath of these powerhouses. Even if the words of powerhouses were not to be trusted, the fact that they could swear on their mind devil and cultivation base showed their loyalty and determination. However, he was not like those fools who could be moved by a single sentence. If that was really the case, he would have died countless times and would no longer be qualified to continue living in the divine martial continent. Therefore, he showed his might right from the start. He directly displayed the terrifying 9 heaven stars and the 5 elements will. These 2 were definitely heaven-defying existences. Even if a martial saint powerhouse saw it, they would be shocked to death. After all, these 2 shocking existences were things that they had never come into contact with before. In front of these 2 powerful techniques, they were completely like ants. In this world, the strong admired the strong, and the strong destroyed the weak. Even though Li Lingtian was a holy alchemist and was admired by countless people, he did not have any real capabilities and few people would really serve him. The bigger the fist, the harder it was to win. Therefore, whatever he showed, even if it was the strongest fist, would directly conquer these experts. The stronger you were, the more loyal your subordinates would be. Even if they risked their lives, they would think it was worth it. Li Lingtian slowly stood up and looked up into the sky with a faint smile on his face. His smile was extremely confident, as if he was planning and controlling the overall situation of the world. His body also emitted a faintly discernible powerful aura, an aura that looked down on the world and looked down on all living beings. In front of this aura, all the experts could only worship and submit because this aura was innate. He asked with a smile who was the ruler of the world, who was the ruler of this world, and who could become the ruler. When all the powerhouses saw Li Lingtian's expression, they had a feeling that their master was looking down on the world and was determined to sweep through the entire Xian continent to become the ruler of the Xian continent. How many people in the world could match Li Lingtian's imposing manner and heaven-defying strength? Young Master swept the world, unified the Black Continent, and became the ruler of the Black Continent. Young Master is invincible. He unified the Black Continent and became the divine martial great ruler. All the powerhouses felt Li Lingtian's aura and his domineering aura. Their blood boiled. No one knew who shouted it out, but all the experts immediately followed suit. Instantly, the strong man's scruples disappeared. He could feel the burning hot blood in the man's body. I really want to seize the throne of the Xian continent and sweep away the common people. Are you all willing to follow me to travel the entire Xian continent and roam the divine martial continent? Are you all willing to laugh arrogantly at the world and sweep across the universe? Li Lingtian slowly retracted his gaze from the void and his gaze landed on the tens of thousands of powerhouses. His gaze was like lightning and wherever his gaze passed, the powerhouses no longer avoided his gaze. Instead, their eyes shone with a scorching light. His voice was calm as he asked all the experts. However, in the eyes of all the powerhouses, Li Lingtian's every move was imbued with supreme dignity. It was a force that was one with the world and was one with the world. Even though his voice wasn't loud, it was able to stir up the desire and passion deep in the hearts of all the experts. Or rather, it was the instinct of men to be hot-blooded. I'm willing to follow young master to conquer the world, to be proud of the world, and to sweep across the world. I don't care even if I have to die. I'm willing to follow the young master to conquer the world, even if it means being crushed to death. I'm willing to follow the young master to conquer the world, even if it means being crushed to death. The passionate voice came from the bottom of the strong man's heart. It also stimulated the strong man's instinct and the hot blood of the man. Even if they were to be smashed into pieces, they would not regret it, because men should be hot-blooded and conquer the world. Men should fight on the battlefield, and men should protect the people they should protect. Men would never regret it even if they died on the battlefield. Alright, the world will tremble because of your existence. This world will change because of your passion. This world will belong to the strong. You are the true strong. A true expert needs to have the heart of an expert. Even if he's invincible, he won't take a step back. This is what an expert is like. Are you afraid of death? Li Lingtian felt his blood boil as well. He was a man, a responsible and hot-blooded powerhouse. In his previous life, he had seen his own country being bullied by all the other countries, and he had seen the majestic celestial empire endure the suppression of Pan Bang, who was like an ant. He felt extremely aggrieved. That was the so-called peaceful era, which was also an era that emphasized rules. Although he had the blood of a man, he had no ability. In this life, he had shocking strength. This was also a world where the strong were respected. He wanted to unleash the suppression of his previous life. He would no longer allow his country to be humiliated. He would make the world tremble under his feet. If you are afraid of death, you are not a man. I would rather die standing than live kneeling. I would rather die standing than live kneeling. Waves of excited voices sounded out. All the experts were no longer weak. They had completely used their will to change them, obtaining an ethereal sublimation. Before Li Lingtian left the drill ground, he looked at the powerhouses meditating on the spot and a faint smile appeared on his face. He had already done what he wanted to do. His goal was that simple. Long De and Marshal Saint Yunhao followed behind Li Lingtian with admiration. They were powerhouses too, and their blood was boiling. Li Lingtian had completely ignited their passion. Furthermore, Li Lingtian's ability to raise his aura with just a few simple words was unmatched. In a great battle, not only strength, but also morale. In a war, one's influence was not the only factor. One also had to consider the right timing, location, and people. Li Lingtian was an array Dao expert, so he naturally understood this. What he needed was the momentum of his subordinates. Once they had morale, they would wait for the east wind. The war in Qingxian was about to begin, and so was Nandu Prefecture. As long as Qingxian was attacked by the other countries, Nandu Prefecture would sweep away the other commanderies. After Li Lingtian left the drill ground, he returned to the Li residence. Naturally, Chu Tianlan would handle the battle. With the army of the prefecture as the foundation, they could compete with the other commanderies. Together with his guards, they could sweep away the masters of the other commanderies. He didn't want to be restrained during the war. He would either not attack or sweep across the commandery once he attacked. Otherwise, if he couldn't deal with the commanderies easily, he wouldn't have the ability to fight for the world. Moreover, after returning to the Li residence, Li Lingtian told Tang Qingyue and the rest to ignore the matters outside and focus on gathering powerhouses, refining pills, and using pills to fight the war. Li Lingtian did not expect the war to come so soon. 3 days later, with the Tianluo Kingdom and the Qingluo Kingdom as the main forces, the other 4 kingdoms also formed a siege on the Qingxian Kingdom. In a short period of time, Qingxian was being attacked from all sides. Tens of millions of soldiers were gathered at the border to resist the foreign enemies. At the same time, the northern Cloud Commandery near Nandu Commandery was also attacked by powerful enemies. Seeing this, Li Lingtian immediately gave an order to Chu Tianlan to gather 1 million troops and march toward North Cloud Commandery. The million-strong army was made up of spaceships. There were countless spaceships in the sky, and the sky was pitch black. The divine martial continent was vast, and the ones fighting were all experts. Even the army of Nandu County was at least a warrior spirit. The rest were all martial kings, martial grandmasters, or even martial emperors and martial venerables. The million-strong army arrived in front of North Cloud County in less than a day. North Cloud County was even weaker than Nandu County. However, North Cloud County was Qingxian's territory. Naturally, they had to conquer it. City Lord, the million-strong army of Nandu County has already gathered in South City. In the prefecture of North Cloud Commandery, all the experts were gathered. The experts here were all martial supremes and martial emperors. There were even 2 martial saints. Although their strength was not deep, they were still peak First Heaven experts. News came from the outside that the army of Nandu Commandery had arrived. The army of North Cloud Commandery was excited because the army of the Qingluo nation was powerful. There were 5 martial saints among them. Moreover, there was a second heaven martial saint. The northern Cloud County was not a match for the Qingluo army. If they were to add the army of the southern capital county, they would naturally have the strength to fight. This was because martial saints could not directly participate in the battle. At the very least, they could not destroy the army. This was the ironclad law of the divine martial continent. Martial saints could only act in secret. Therefore, they were not worried that a martial saint would destroy the entire army. As long as Nandu County helped, the Qingluo nation would not be able to wipe out the North Cloud County. Chapter 617, Encounter on a Narrow Road. The brave wins. The army of Nandu Commandery also has 1 million soldiers. With the 1 million soldiers of North Cloud Commandery outside, they should be able to hold off the army of the Black Civ Kingdom. The main thing is that I'm worried that after the Qingxian Kingdom is conquered, the Northern Cloud County outside will be finished. Zhou Ziyun, the king of Northern Cloud Commandery, smiled. However, he was more worried than smiling. So what if Nandu Prefecture helped? Qingxian was attacked by several countries. sooner or later, it would be wiped out. As a commandery of Qing Xian, it would not be spared. Ruler, 2 million soldiers against 5 million from the Black Civ Kingdom is nothing. BICS mainly because the Qing Luo Kingdom has sent 5 martial saints. We can't possibly resist them. Nandu County will definitely not take out the experts of the Chu family. Therefore, our North Cloud County will not be spared. Long Qinghe, the Supreme Elder of North Cloud Commandery, was one of the 2 martial saint experts in North Cloud Commandery. He was at the first sky of the martial saint realm. In North Cloud Commandery, he was absolutely supreme. They had always been high and mighty, but in this war between commanderies, they had no advantage. If anything went wrong, not to mention the commandery, even he, the martial saint, would not be spared. This commandery belonged to them, and it was also their world and territory naturally. They didn't want to be destroyed and seized by others. Country ruler, no, not good, not good. At this moment, the guards outside ran in with extremely flustered expressions. When he arrived at the hall, he couldn't care less about anything else. If it was in the past, he wouldn't have dared to speak loudly in the hall. However, he was so flustered and lost his composure now. Impudent. As a guard, how can you bow like this? When the other Grand Elder, Zhou Tianyun, saw the guard barge in, he was instantly enraged. His aura erupted from his entire body, and he was about to kill the guard. Wait a minute. What is it that you are so flustered about? Speak. Long Qinghe said to Zhou Tianyun to stop him from attacking. Then, his sharp gaze turned to the guard, and he was extremely worried. This guard would not barge into the hall for no reason. Something must have happened. Grand Elder, Ruler. The army of Nandu Commandery is attacking North Cloud Commandery. North Cloud Commandery has been utterly defeated and is on the verge of breaking through the city walls. The army of the Black Civ Kingdom is also attacking the city. The guard was a martial arts grandmaster after all, so he quickly calmed down. He told her what had happened outside. After that, he sat down on the ground. What? What? Nandu Prefecture attacked North Cloud Prefecture. Immediately, the atmosphere in the hall was extremely strange. The country ruler and the 2 grand elders exclaimed. They could no longer sit still and suddenly stood up, looking at the guards with cold eyes. In the end, he knew that this guard wouldn't spout nonsense and that it was definitely true. For a moment, they did not know what to do. They had thought that they were reinforcements, but now they had become enemies. This was undoubtedly adding insult to injury. Nandu Prefecture was already powerful. Now that Nandu Prefecture and Qing Luo Country were attacking North Cloud Prefecture at the same time, North Cloud Prefecture would definitely not be able to hold on. Let's go out and take a look. Even if we die, we must drag Nandu County down with us. Zhou Tianyun's face revealed a vicious expression. Even a dog would jump over a wall in desperation. His original hope had turned into despair, and he was naturally furious. Why did Nandu Prefecture attack North Cloud Prefecture? They knew that Qing Xian was under siege, but they didn't help. Instead, they came to fight. Isn't this a betrayal? Zhou Ziyun had yet to react. Nandu Prefecture was one of the most important commanderies in Qing Xian. It was also the commandery with the richest resources. If Nandu Prefecture betrayed them, they must have joined hands with other countries. Not only him, but even the 2 supreme elders and the Black Civ army had not expected this. They thought that the higher-ups of the Qing Civ Kingdom had informed Nandu Commandery. Seeing the million-strong army of Nandu Commandery attacking North Cloud Commandery, the Qing Civ Kingdom's army also began to attack the city. Soon, the 3 of them arrived at the top of the city wall. They went straight to the south and north cities. On both sides, millions of troops were attacking the Nandu County's million-strong army was all elite soldiers and good generals, their momentum shaking the sky. The destructive array attacked the defensive array on the city wall. The defensive array kept trembling. If this continued, the defensive array would be shattered. Roar, roar, roar. Boom. Boom! Boom! A series of heaven-shaking roars and the morale of the army rose. Seeing the morale of Nandu County's army, the country ruler Zhou Ziyun and the two grand elders were extremely shocked. Why is Nandu County so powerful? Long Qinghe said in a daze. Although the army was full of people below the martial emperor realm, judging from the morale and formation, it was definitely not that simple. The power of Nandu County was beyond their imagination. The morale and formation of the commandery army were even more terrifying than that of the Qing Luo army. State Lord Chu, the young lord, has said that he will sweep through the Black Civ army and the North Cloud commandery army in an hour. Within 3 days, he will annex the surrounding cities. Speed up the siege. Leave the two martial saints to us. In the army of Nandu Commandery, a middle-aged man beside Chu Tianlan said indifferently. He looked at the two martial saints on the city wall of North Cloud Commandery and revealed a cruel smile. Great battles were all about killing. I know. Chu Tianlan, as the ruler of the country, wasn't unhappy at this moment. Instead, she was extremely excited. With a wave of his hand, hundreds of martial emperor powerhouses quickly gathered together and formed a cone-shaped formation. This cone-shaped formation was a terrifying killing weapon that was specially used to attack cities. It was obvious that they were gathering all the martial emperor powerhouses to unleash such a formation in order to take down the enemy city in one blow. Not good, not good. There are experts behind Nandu County. They want to destroy our North Cloud County. Zhou Tianyun was shocked when he saw the formation formed by hundreds of martial emperor powerhouses. The expression on his face changed drastically. At this moment, as a martial saint expert, he did not know what to do. Because they could not participate in the battle, they could only watch the army below. If they attacked, the Northern Cloud County would disappear forever. Moreover, martial saints would be killed by the iron law of the divine martial continent. Kill, kill, kill. Boom! 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 In the northern part of the city, the Black Civ army was also advancing with unstoppable momentum. They were attacking the city walls with all their might, causing the formation on the city walls to tremble. The two armies attacked the defensive array. Zhou Ziyun and the other two, as well as the Northern Cloud Commandery army, were all ashen. This was not a battle of the same level. Boom! An earth-shattering explosion sounded. The 100 martial monarch realm experts from Nandu County unleashed a destructive attack that struck the defensive array. The super heaven-grade defensive array instantly shattered and disappeared like the melting sunflower in spring. The Northern Cloud Commandery was exposed to the air. All of the Northern Cloud Commandery troops lost their sense of security. Countless experts from the Northern Cloud Commandery were destroyed by the array formation. Kill them! Kill them! Kill them! The defensive array was broken, and the army of Nandu Commandery rushed over like a tide. Instantly, the two armies collided like two waves, creating a world-shaking destruction. In a battle of 1,000,000 soldiers, morale was the most important. Encounter on a narrow road. The brave will win. Chu Tianlan shouted loudly, and the million-strong army behind her followed suit. Instantly, the morale of the army soared, and their imposing manner was like a whirlwind sweeping away the clouds. Kill, kill, kill. Kill, kill, kill. When the defensive array was destroyed, the northern city rushed up and surrounded the Northern Cloud Commandery army. Immediately, the two armies attacked North Cloud Commandery from both sides. The North Cloud Commandery army was attacked from both sides and their morale was low. Boom! Boom! If the country is broken, where will the mountains and rivers remain? The battle between the experts was earth-shattering. The ground trembled and collapsed. Instantly, the city of North Cloud Commandery was destroyed. Long Qinghe, Zhou Tianyun, listen up. At this moment, a loud voice rang out. The voice was like thunder, attracting Zhou Tianyun, Long Qinghe, and the others. 3 middle-aged men appeared in the air. The 3 middle-aged men did not have any aura on them, just like ordinary people. Who is it? Zhou Tianyun looked at the middle-aged man in the sky and asked in confusion. Then, there was no sound in the air. A moment later, a golden scroll flew towards Zhou Tianyun. Zhou Tianyun's expression changed drastically, and then his face became excited. Listen up. All armies, move to the North City and attack the powerful enemy of the Black Civ Kingdom. Zhou Tianyun handed the golden scroll to Long Qinghe and gave the order loudly, which confused Zhou Ziyun and Long Qinghe. However, Zhou Tianyun, as the Grand Elder, naturally had his own plans. They were all curious about this golden scroll. They wondered what was inside that made Zhou Tianyun so excited. However, after Long Qinghe finished reading it, he looked excited. Kill them! Kill them! The army of North Cloud Commandery transferred all their forces to the North City and did not resist the Nandu Commandery in the South City. The army of Nandu Prefecture did not stop them at all. They had also received Chu Tianlan's order to charge towards the North City. In just a few moments, the million-strong army of North Cloud Commandery had gathered in the North City, and the army of Nandu Commandery had also been mobilized. Immediately, the armies of the Black Civ Nation, North Cloud Commandery and Nandu Commandery formed a three-pronged formation. Kill them! Kill them! Without any hesitation, the Nandu Commandery army and the North Cloud Commandery army shouted at the same time. Instantly, the 2 million-strong armies charged towards the Black Civ army. The situation was unpredictable, and the Black Civ army was unable to react. The three armies were fighting on the city wall of North Cloud Commandery. Sky Demon King, Marshal Saint Yunhao, and Marshal Saint Ming Luo were all watching the battle. Not far away, Long Qinghe and Zhou Tianyun were thinking about something. Long Qinghe, Zhou Tianyun, I don't think I need to tell you. The young master's oracle is irreversible. We'll help you get rid of a few martial saints. The rest is up to you. If you can't even do such a small thing well, there's no reason for you to stay. Marshal Saint Ming Luo looked at Long Qinghe and Zhou Tianyun and said calmly. This time, Li Lingtian did not want to make any mistakes. Hence, he sent the three of them out. The three Third Heaven Marshal Saint powerhouses would be able to wipe out the Qing Luo army. However, he didn't want the army of the North Cloud Commandery to be idle. Marshal Saint Ming Luo and the other two were only responsible for killing the Marshal Saint experts of the Qing Luo nation. He would leave the rest to the North Cloud Commandery. Using war to nurture war was like a snowball. Using small forces to swallow them up, the strength would multiply. If they were unwilling, they would be directly eliminated. Today's Chapter 3.0 explodes, seeking monthly votes, recommendation votes, tips, and book reviews. Tomorrow, it would continue to explode according to the votes. I recommend a Xianxia work by the Demon Soul, Mad Cultivator Cultivates God. It's super good. Chapter 6:18, Those who follow will prosper, those who rebel will die. His irrefutable tone made Zhou Tianyun and the other two extremely unhappy. However, when he thought of that mysterious and terrifying saint alchemist, he did not feel unhappy at all. In the Golden Scroll, Li Lingtian had also granted them their positions. As long as they submitted, they would be able to retain their position as the ruler of North Cloud Commandery and would even be rewarded to the 4 neighboring commanderies. At the same time, he also wanted to see how these 3 people would eliminate the 5 martial saints of the other party. He also wanted to know if he had followed the wrong person. If he wanted to make North Cloud Commandery submit, he had to have heaven-defying abilities. We understand. When the time comes, Zhou Ziyun will lead the army to fight alongside the Chu Lord and achieve the supreme holy cause of the young lord. Zhou Tianyun replied respectfully with a curious look on his face. The 5 martial saints in the Qing Luo army understood what was going on. Nandu County was not an ally of the Qing Luo kingdom, but an enemy, a true enemy. The 5 martial saints did not dare to participate in the battle because this was the ironclad law of the divine martial continent. However, the 5 martial saints were hovering in the air, using their heaven-defying auras to boost the morale of the Qing Luo army. This meant that with the presence of the martial saints, the morale of the Qing Luo army would not drop. Sky Yao, Yunhao and I will restrain the others. Use the heaven-startling hammer to wipe them all out. Marshal Saint Ming Luo looked at the Marshal Saint powerhouse in the sky and revealed a cruel smile. Marshal Saints were not allowed to participate in the battle of the army, but killing a Marshal Saint was naturally within the Iron Law. Even if it was beyond the law, so what? A person like Li Lingtian was capable of anything. All right. Sky Demon King nodded. The smile on his face was exceptionally cruel. Suddenly, Marshal Saint Ming Luo and Marshal Saint Yunhao flashed and disappeared. When they reappeared, they were already in the air and bombarded the 5 Marshal Saints. The heaven-defying cultivation base of the 3rd sky of the Marshal Saint realm and the earth-shattering pressure suppressed the 1st sky of the Marshal Saint realm. The pressure of 2 level 3 experts suppressed 5 level 1 experts. The level 1 Marshal Saints could only display half of their cultivation strength. 3rd sky of the Marshal Saint realm. 3rd sky of the Marshal Saint realm. When the 5 Marshal Saints saw Marshal Saint Ming Luo's pressure and aura, they were instantly shocked to death. Originally, they had wanted to rely on the 5 of them to suppress the 2 million soldiers, but they had never expected that they would be used by the other party. They had also never expected that the other party would actually dare to break the Iron Law and participate in the battle. Die! Boom! In this state of shock, Heaven Demon Monarch's tall figure floated in the air as he struck down with the heaven-shocking hammer in his hand. They were both at the peak of the 3rd sky of the Marshal Saint realm. The overbearing power and the terrifying pressure shook the sky and earth. Pfft! A 1st sky of the Marshal Saint realm was killed by a hammer. He was beaten until he disappeared into thin air. Rumble! Rumble! When their companion was killed, the other 4 Marshal Saints also reacted. Not only did the other party want to participate in the battle, but he also wanted to kill all of them. The 3 3rd Sky Marshal Saints had been waiting here for a long time. For a moment, the 4 1st Sky Marshal Saints and the 2 3rd Sky Marshal Saints fought in the air. Heaven Demon Monarch floated in the air and had no intention of attacking. Marshal Saint Ming Luo and the 2 of them were at the 3rd sky. It was fun for them to deal with 4 1st Sky Marshal Saints. Not to mention 2 3rd Sky Marshal Saints, even he could suppress 4 1st Sky Marshal Saints alone. This was the advantage of his realm. Boom! Pfft! Another explosion sounded as the heaven-startling hammer struck a 1st Firmament Marshal Saint. Similarly, in front of the heaven-startling hammer of a 3rd Firmament Marshal Saint Demon King, even if a 1st Firmament Demon King was prepared, he would still die. They vanished into thin air, leaving behind only 3 1st Heaven Marshal Saints. On the city wall, Zhou Tianyun and the other 2 were stunned. They had always thought that Marshal Saints would not die. Even if they could not defeat them, they could still escape. However, when they saw the 2 Marshal Saints being killed like ants, they were terrified. Boom! 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 3 destructive explosions sounded in a row. 3 3rd Sky Marshal Saints killed the 1st Sky Marshal Saints at the same time. The 3 million soldiers were stunned as they watched the battle between the Marshal Saints in the sky. When the 5 Marshal Saints from the Qing Luo country fell, the crowd was in an uproar. The morale of the Qing Luo army was low, but the morale of Nandu Commandery and North Cloud Commandery soared. Kill them! Kill them! Kill them! Shocking shouts and destructive attacks. Marshal Saint Ming Luo and the other 2 returned to the city wall. Zhou Tianyun and the other 2 were trembling in their hearts. It turned out that the 1st sky of the Marshal Saint realm was so fragile. Fortunately, they had agreed to submit. Otherwise, they would have been the first to die. Sir, should we stop the war? Zhou Tianyun came to Marshal Saint Ming Luo and bowed respectfully. The battle had already reached this stage, and the morale of the 2 million soldiers was sky-high. If they could kill the 1 million soldiers of the Black Civ army, they could completely take them in. Wait a minute. Since this is a war, we have to go through the smoke and blood of the war. We have to leave the 500,000 soldiers of the Qing Luo kingdom behind. Marshal Saint Ming Luo waved her hand and said indifferently. This was also Li Lingtian's intention. Those who stayed behind were the true army. Even if they were lucky enough to survive, they were not fated to die. A great battle was a massacre in itself. A general's achievements would lead to the death of 10,000 bones. These things could not be avoided. Benevolence to the enemy was cruelty to oneself. Shoo! Upon hearing Marshal Saint Ming Luo's words, many of the super experts on the city wall gasped. However, no one dared to resist at all, nor did they have any objections. 800,000. 700,000. 600,000. On top of the city walls, some of the supreme experts had estimated the remaining forces of the Black Civ army based on the scale of the battle and reported their numbers. Those who submit will prosper, those who rebel will die. Those who submit will stay, and those who don't will die. Marshal Saint Ming Luo said lightly and closed her eyes. Immediately, Chu Tianlan received the order. Marshal Saint Ming Luo told Zhou Tianyun everything and left the city wall with her men. Chu Tianlan and Zhou Tianyun's people would handle the rest of the matters, as they didn't want to do it themselves. The battle ended in less than an hour. This war had shaken Qing Xian and the other countries. When Qing Xian Kingdom was in trouble, Nandu County had joined forces with the Qing Civ army to attack North Cloud County. In the end, they had even annexed the Qing Civ army. All of a sudden, countless commanderies and countries were shocked. The Nandu commandery was very powerful. They had swept through the millions of soldiers from the North Cloud Commandery and the Qing Luo Kingdom in an hour. After the organization was sorted out, the army had reached 2 million, and all the resources had been transferred to the Nandu County Army. The morale of the Qing Xian Kingdom plummeted. The enemies were powerful and there was internal strife. The commotion in Nandu Prefecture confused many commanderies and countries. They couldn't believe that Nandu Prefecture was going to fight for hegemony. As long as we can unite all the commanderies in Qing Xian in a short time and wipe out some of the other commanderies, our power will be even greater. At the Li residence, Li Lingtian was looking at a huge hand-drawn drawing of a beast hide with a faint smile on his face. On this map, there were some countries near Qing Xian and some rough geographical locations. He didn't have much power now. He could only wipe out the commanderies around Qing Xian and build his own strength. That way, he could stand firm. Our core strength isn't strong enough. It's impossible for us to meet a powerful army. Therefore, we'll think of a way to build our own powerful army. Huangfu Yuyan and the rest stood beside Li Lingtian. They were also looking at the 10-meter-long and 3-meter-wide blueprint with a happy expression on their faces. This was a legend who had conquered the world. This legend was about to be born and they could feel the aura of conquering the world from Li Lingtian. To strategize and guide the country. That's right. It's impossible to conquer the world with just a few ordinary armies. Therefore, we must fight a real army. It's like a legion, like the Guard Regiment. Moreover, we need 4 legions. A Martial Emperor's Legion, a Martial Honor's Legion, a Martial Emperor's Legion, and a Martial Saint's Legion. Li Lingtian nodded. He did not want a war to end in a stalemate. What he wanted was the momentum of a whirlwind sweeping away the clouds and the dominance of a world conqueror. Wherever he went, he would be invincible and invincible. If Big Brother Ling Tian can build such an army, he'll definitely sweep across the world. I'm so excited just thinking about it. Xianyuan Yingying was extremely happy. The rest of the army was made up of warrior spirits and martial kings. Even if there were martial grandmasters and martial emperors, there were very few of them. Martial supremes and martial emperors were also at the general level. Not to mention creating an army above the rank of a martial emperor. An army above the rank of a martial emperor would be invincible. Oh right, husband, why don't you take out your current group of guards and form a group of martial royal realm guards? This way, we can be invincible. Moreover, after we break through the city, we can absorb martial honors and martial emperors, and take in martial saints. This way, our speed will be even faster. Speed is the most important thing in war. We'd better build up our strength while the other kingdoms and countries aren't paying attention. Otherwise, when the other kingdoms and countries notice us, we won't be able to move an inch. Shun Mei kept muttering to herself before she finally voiced out her thoughts. Li Lingtian and the others listened attentively. After hearing this, they all agreed with him. A group of guards from a martial monarch realm expert. If such an army joined the war and formed an independent group, they would definitely be invincible when gathered together. This was a battle where they were outnumbered. They did not have the slightest bit of strength, so they could only rely on speed to absorb more powerful forces. Only then could they stand firm. That's right, Sister Mei is right. I also agree with Sister Mei's opinion. Mei is right. If we wait for the other kingdoms to pay attention, it will be difficult for us to act. All of a sudden, the girls agreed with him. As they spoke, they looked at Li Lingtian to see what he thought. Indeed, one should be rewarded. Li Lingtian agreed with Shun Mei's opinion in his heart. With a smile on his face, he planted a kiss on Shun Mei's forehead. Instantly, Shun Mei was embarrassed. Being treated like this in front of so many sisters, she was naturally shy. How about this? I'll give the Martial Monarch's guard group a name and let Heaven Demon King lead it. He likes to kill, so he can lead it. Li Lingtian and the others returned to their seats and began to think of the name of the division. The name of a division was very important. You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.